bus.
I got it all hollowed out. Got all the seats out, made my kids work. They took them all out, and they helped me pull the windows out. They did most of it.
Cool.
So, Chris, have you got a Harley?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I got out of Harleys. Didn't like them. Tired of working on them, but I found the newer ones are a little bit better than the older ones. I like the old stuff, but gosh dang, you got to carry extra jugs and pistons and carburetors and in your saddlebags. I like to just carry beef jerky and you know. Tell me
Fishing
about
pole.
bike. Tell me about Bike Week. Bike Week is like anything else. It's overpriced. There's a bunch of boobies, and there's just a lot of people. They got some cool shows, and they got those guys on the motorbikes inside that ball of death. Where they ride their bikes around the globe. That's kind of neat.
That's cool.
And they got all those trick riders that on their Harleys or their crotch rockets, riding on their front wheel and doing crazy stuff. But I can tell you this, it was 80 degrees last week down here. So I thought it was going to be a gorgeous day. Friday it got cloudy. It was supposed to rain. It didn't, just clouded up. Saturday, man, I don't think it busted 67 degrees. So we rode up there about noon, and I don't think we left out of there till about midnight. And the city was fine. I bought my old lady a set of chaps. She didn't have none.
Chaps or chaps?
Well, motorcycle guys call it chaps. So
that's because some of them don't have a comfortable seat for long rides, and they get monkey ass.
Yeah. Well, I don't wear them whether I'm on a horse or a bike. So, but I did buy me a vest this time, and the only reason I bought it because it had a conceal. It's a conceal vest, so I can carry my pistols in it. And it has a little pocket for my brass knuckles. So,
man, you're ready, aren't you?
I always carry my brass knuckles. Always, everywhere I go, everywhere.
Just in case.
You never know.
Give you a.
You never know if he's bigger than you. You never know if he's bigger than you. But we got riding home. I'm running 80 down the freeway, and I'm like, it's just chilly, man. And people were passing me. I was running 80 and people were passing me. But we got off of I-10 there and started to cut across that desert, and it got cold. I'm like,
I bet it did.
we got down to Maricopa. I had to get some gas. I told my old lady, it ain't cold yet, man. When we come across these alfalfa fields, I'm going to tell you what, it got cold.
Hey, look,
it was cold. Hey, I seen her. I don't know. You guys ever seen Dumb and Dumber when he gets off the bike and they're froze together and he just sticks on his back? That's what my old lady was like when I got off that bike. But that was a good time. We went there. There was a concert going on. That's why we kind of went. We went and checked out the concert. And they're not real crowded at those concerts. So
who? Just a local band or something, or?
No, it was. I don't listen to country much. It was Godsmack. It was kind of a hardcore rock and roll guy.
Godsmack.
Yeah. He does a lot of good stuff for suicide and actually has a whole setup for addiction and suicide and depression and mental ill stuff. But he's kind of a hardcore guy.
And what's
kind of heavy metalish? Godsmack. I think the guy killed a guy one time or shot him and went through a bunch of stuff and came out, I don't know, praising the Lord, I guess.
Cool.
So, Chris, when you're on those rides like that, is 80 a normal speed for you?
No, I'm a 55 stay alive guy, but when it's cold and you're trying to get home and there's nobody on the freeway, you're flying. Well, what happened too is it was me and another guy. We went alone, but there's another guy on the freeway, and I caught up to him, and I was just kind of riding with him, and then 2 highway patrol motorcycles come off the freeway, off the off-ramp, and they ride side by side. And you know what I mean? It looks like they're attached. Those sons of guns were doing about 90 miles an hour. So I said, well, if they're ahead of me, they're not behind me. So me and that other guy kept up with them. we stayed behind them a bit, but we just followed them all the way out as far as we could. No, I
I'd be
don't, and
curious.
I hate riding in Phoenix. So
Oh yeah.
Excuse me for a minute, guys.
look at that,
It sounded like
Brett.
Charlie Brown's teacher.
I think it was wah wah wah. But I don't really like riding down here. I just talked to a girl today. She was supposed to get hold of me, and she said, "Hey man, sorry, but she had a friend die in a motorcycle accident over there, the same rally."
Oh
So
sure. Yeah. You're
it
always gonna
happens
get.
all the people don't pay attention, whether it's a car or a motorcycle. And I don't
That's
like
true.
riding down in the valley. This is the first time I've been there on my bike, but I do all the rallies up North Arizona. Honda Casino has a real good one. You ride down to St. John, Springerville, Hannigan's Meadow to Greer, back. It's $65 for both of us. And they feed you hamburgers Friday night and a steak dinner, big steaks too, man. A steak dinner on Saturday night. So there you go.
Oh, excuse me. We had a special guest tonight, but he's not
We're
going to
not.
show. He's a
We're not
no-show.
important enough. We're not important enough.
We're just little guys, man.
Should we even say? Should we bust them out real bad because they would do
No.
that to each other? Aw.
Chris is in a
I-
bad mood.
I really
Busted
would like
skull.
give him a little bit of crap because Mr. Big Shot.
You're just in a bad mood. You're worse than Benny tonight. Benny's giggling and laughing, and you're all.
I know. I'm telling you, it's the eclipse. It swapped us.
I'd be curious just because Chris brought this up, and I had a hot rod Harley. I miss my Harley bad, and I mean it was a hot rod Harley. And the guys that I ran around with, 100 to 120 was the norm. We were wax on, but I just wonder how many of these hound doggers out there have any Harleys or have ever had Harleys, because we put people in a mold, a stereotype, and everything about us isn't necessarily the way others see us. I'm just curious, are Chris and I the only Harley enthusiasts out there?
I get it. When I first met my wife, she came up. She thought I was a stoner. I think I had a beanie on, my beard, but I'm wearing cowboy boots, Wranglers. So everybody's like, "Oh, George Strait rocks." I'm like, "Who?" Like, I don't really listen to new country at all. I'll listen to Waylon, all that old stuff. But when I'm hunting, I kind of go into my Waylon, David Allan Coe type music. But I'm a kind of a hard heavy metal guy, honestly. So I'm like running around with my cowboy hat, listening to Metallica and all the old school stuff, I guess. But then, I get people all the time that are, they do.
I didn't want to hear it anymore, so I just muted him.
Oh, that's how you do it.
Sorry.
I'm used to it.
We do
I
have
still got a
another guest,
bus, though.
though, that's going to be coming on. Casey Fair, man from where your old stomping grounds, I think. Benny, he's over there by Young, Arizona. He's a houndsman, got some lion dogs and a rancher, cowboy. And he was going to come on anyway tonight after our first guest that is a no-show. So I was going to say, I'm going to send him the link here about 6 o'clock and see if he can come on. You been up by Young much, Benny, and hunted up in that area?
I have not hunted there. When I was a teenager, I rode dirt bikes up there, but there was only a population of about 2. That's really cool. Chris, have you been over there around Young?
So I've hunted a little top of Picture Mountain a little bit, but I always hunted on the other side, like by Wolf Creek and Tonto Basin, all that. Like, what is that? Forest Road 71. It comes out of Pumpkin Center.
Yeah, that's a rough ride to get up to the top of Picture Mountain, and then there's a huge gash in the ground that it's a
Mm.
miserable pig to get back over to Young. But there's a there's an old gas station that two brothers owned back when I was a teenager in the early '70s, and there was, oh, what was there? That's where we gassed up our motorcycles, and they had those old visual pumps that you pump the handle on it, and it pumped the gasoline up in the clear tank, and it had
Mm.
numbers on there where you could see how many gallons you filled it up and paid for what you used. And I always wanted to. I just loved the memory of that gas station on the hill, and so I went over there when that bushfire was going on. I was over at one of the rim lakes fishing, and I told my stepdad, "Hey, get in my razor and let's run over to Young and have a look around." And sure enough, that gas station is still there. Somebody bought it and put a fence around it, and it's a time capsule. It's 100% just like those people shut up shop for the weekend and left.
Mm.
It's pretty cool. And I was talking to Steve Smith, and he knows who owns it. But that's something, when you have fond memories when you're younger and you go back and nothing's the same. Well, that deal's the same, only it's got a fence around it now.
And what happened to the people?
They died.
And no one inherited it or anything, or
I don't know the whole story, but someone must have inherited it, and it just sat there forever. And then somebody else moved up there, and they bought it and just left it like it was. And I guess you can call them, and they'll give you a tour of the place. But Young's got a regular, flourishing, thriving population up there now. It's not like when I was a kid. Uh, Johnny Johnny Johnson,
Mhm.
he was part of a family in Phoenix that was a concrete company, Johnson Stewart Johnson Mining, and he sold his share out earlier than everybody else sold out. And he bought a ranch at Young, and he's been there forever since,
I've heard
I
of
guess,
him.
since the late '70s or early '80s. Johnny's been up there. He's still there ranching.
Mm.
whew, man, I've never been. I mean, the only thing I've heard about Young was where that CJ Proc was, I guess, for a long time.
Good country.
I got told a story on CJ. I think it was CJ that, like some of these other guys that we've talked about, somebody asked about on here, asked a question, "Do we know such and such?" And we didn't acknowledge it. But CJ worked for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services or the game department or someone like that. So he was one of those undercover guys in the hound dog world. But CJ was different. He was a half outlaw himself, and so he only went after the guys that he went after. If you were a buddy, he may not go after you. So
But
it's
he got in a lot of trouble, Benny, for doing canned hunts.
well, Brett, you'll find out that these guys that are working today, the guys that are working for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, they got in trouble in one form or another, and they've got ties to especially the dirt lion hunters, and they've got ties to that, or they have some way to get in, and so the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services offers them a job in lieu of getting in prison or getting charges or whatever. There was a guy that went down to Mexico because he stabbed a guy and killed him, and he ended up coming back to the United States and never faced any. I never heard of him facing any charges or anything. And he's, in fact, he's at Young right now, and he works for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services. He's a Fed, and he hangs around and acts like he's every hound dog guy's buddy.
What
There's
better?
another
What
guy.
better? What better person to find an outlaw? Hire an outlaw.
There's another guy out of. Uh, Originally, he's out of Goodyear, Arizona, and he's still out there in the hound dog world right now.
Hmm.
Please, what?
Yep.
Please
Plea deals.
deals. Plea deals.
Plea
Oh,
deals.
oh, 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 I didn't understand. Well, what about our? I've been that Johnny Clump uh video. Well, the video probably won't come out, but the podcast will come out on W Hunting Supply probably this week, maybe next week. I don't know. It depends when they want to put it out. But I've been working on it now, and he got in a lot of trouble, or they tried to get him in a lot of trouble. Maybe he was just too much on the other side.
He's John Clump. He's not going to give in to those guys. I mean, you know, there's guys that are willing to make a deal and throw everyone else under the bus and run the damn thing over them 20 times. And there's other guys that got a little sand in their ass and they'll tell them to pound sand and pack it in their komisayama. And no, we're not going to get along.
Hmm.
John Clump's not one of those first kind.
I've never even seen a federal wildlife agent.
You have.
I have.
I probably
They
took
don't
one
know
hunting
I
with
have,
me
but
before.
I have.
Really?
You saw one up at Beaverhead one July. He showed up uninvited and I was pissed.
Oh, not Beaverhead. Oh, Beaverhead, Arizona?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Huh. I mean, without, not around, I mean, around you, I'm sure I've found some federal, or met some federal agents. But
That's the guy that lives at Young.
but on my own, I've never met any.
No. The worst you've ever had was Big Mike showing up in camp pretending like he's your pal.
Yeah, he was nice to me.
Got to be a more outlaw if you want to hang out with those guys.
I sold him a dog. But I also had him and the local sheriff department come down and try to. He didn't, but the sheriff tried to arrest me.
What'd you
That's
get?
when I wish I had a pair
crap.
of brass knuckles or a spear. I needed one. I was outnumbered.
Yep. Just do a back swinging elbow. You'll be good.
A back swinging elbow.
Gets them every time.
I don't know about that. I'm getting too old to swing anything.
We should have had
Any or-
some outlaws or some game wardens on the night.
I know, we're sure. I don't even, knock on wood. I mean, the only time I see a game warden is when he's driving down the highway. I mean, and when I'm on a mule out there, never see nobody. Have you ever run into him when you're out and about in the backcountry? Benny froze, showing us his nostrils.
Oh, he blinked. He's faking.
He's faking.
He's reading something. What is he reading? Probably reading his book he just got.
Okay, we got a hound dog question here. What do you guys like better, a bay and bear race or treed bear? Obviously, the mountain lion is coolest thing to see, but which bear you like the best? I like a gentle bear that's treed.
I don't mind a runner for a little bit. You know, a good, good little race. I don't want, not like an 8 mile or 10 mile or 12. I'm talking like around the mountain and, give your dogs a little bit of exercise. But I don't know. I think the best ones are when you're just driving around with your finger in your nose and you rig and you let out. 2 minutes later, you got a bear treed. So those are kind of fun. I think they're all. I tell you what, those long races, and then you catch it. But man, I don't like
Then
long races.
then it's real satisfying.
It just burns your dogs out,
I think I brought them back in the 80s when they was trying to catch the guys I was hunting with, but it was illegal coyotes. Dang it. It was legal to run coyotes with dogs then, and the feds got PO'd.
Well, that's what everybody does in the summer. All of a sudden, everybody's a coyote hunter
I had
Or
that.
or
Well,
or
raccoon.
or, or raccoon. California. How many 300-pound raccoons have they treated in California? So
Hey, did you guys notice as soon as we started talking about all that, somebody zapped my internet?
oh, Benny, he's so.
they're after him.
So,
They're after him.
so then I got to looking around, and the only thing I could come up with, here's the source.
Go. Oh, now you did it. Now you banned us. That's your commander in chief. You know what? Like he said one time.
Remember the game warden Gilbert in the Chiricahua Mountains area, Benny?
Yeah, yeah. There was one. There was one in Unit 21 up there at Red Creek and New River and all that too. I can't remember his name, but he was a Lulu. In fact, that one from Unit 21, he ended up working for Ted Turner over there on the Ladder Ranch.
On the ladder
Yeah,
or on
for a
the
little while.
Armandaris?
For a little while, Ted had everybody that went to work for Ted had to be a wildlife biologist, and so he was hiring all of these retired or soon to be retired game wardens from all around.
Well,
That's when they were trying to get rid of the. They were, what were they doing, Brett? They weren't killing the female lions, but weren't they trying to relocate them so the toms would get out of there?
or the Armandaris? They killed everything
Well,
for a while. That was that
but that was
but
because of bighorn sheep.
yeah, in the Bighorn sheep range. On the ladder though, they were just collaring them. But what they did on the Armandaris is they collared the toms. They would collar a tom
Okay.
and let him live, and then they knew that if he came into that country and stayed for any length of time, they knew they had a female. So when they had a female, then they'd go out and try to remove her. I caught one.
Exterminate.
I caught two out there for him. I caught one that we did eliminate. I didn't, but somebody else. It was my dogs, but they eliminated her. And then they thought she was a tom though at that time. Even she was a big old dry female, and then later on I caught another one on the mountain, but we couldn't keep her. We couldn't hold her. She could go up. They say hardly anybody can catch one on that Armandaris mountain because the lions can go up the bluffs and the dogs can't.
So you're saying that you guys, that first line you caught was the precursor to all of this non-binary business?
She was a trans. She was a, what do you call them?
That's
I
called
don't even
Easter
know what you
Sunday
call
now.
them. Huh?
A
Hermaphrodite.
girl basketball player.
Easter Sunday. What is Easter Sunday now?
Non-
Isn't it Trans Day?
I know, isn't that terrible?
It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very mild, Chris.
Uh,
We're
I
on the-
you know
we're
I could
on
put
the-
my brass knuckles on. That's all for that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and all you guys got weapons. I'm gonna have to get something.
I don't look for fights. I was at the rally and I bumped into some people and they used to be in a MC and they got shut down by other MCs and some of those guys showed up and he didn't want to deal with it and me I'm like looking for a little bit of trouble but so we just kind of walked around them. But you guys hear about the elk tag in Arizona? 500 grand governor tag.
Governor's
I heard
tag.
it went for I heard it went over 500 grand. So they're shutting it down this year and I heard this is just what I'm hearing from the guy and he usually knows his stuff. Next year. So you only have 2 more years to buy it.
Look at you, Brett.
Dang.
Thank you, Nicholas.
I don't know. We're kind of low tonight. Last week we had, or the week before we had 100 people on.
Well, we're still early. We're
That is
giving
true. They pile in after work.
we're giving Joe Rogan a run
We'll
for
be
his
fine.
money. I sent out
We're
that
not
link
doing it.
to
But it's only 5 o'clock over here.
maybe it didn't go. No,
No,
I
I
sent
got it.
this
I
link.
seen it. I think I seen it. Didn't I?
No, I sent it to. I said, "Is 6 okay?" Do. Maybe for some reason. Let me see if I can find out what the problem is.
Hey,
Well, anyways,
Chuck Miller, you're on there.
500,000. What is it?
Let me ask Chuck Miller. There's a guy named Claude that has been all over the West and all over Arizona. Tom Taylor called me and told me about him, and I guess he grew up running around with Tom Taylor. And Tom said we should have him on here because he can give a lot of history and just stories from all over. And I don't remember Claude's last name, and when he sent me the contact, it just said Claude. You know who that would be, Chuck?
We need to just send Chuck this link and
Oh,
have
good
him come
saying.
on. How can I
Right
do
now,
that?
he's not doing anything but commenting. You can send it to him.
You could send a get. Can you do a guest? Let me see. Guest? Well, no.
Gotta send him this link.
If he put his email on there, you could email
I think
it to
he
him.
sent me his email one time. Let me see if I can find it. Or he sent me his phone number, maybe.
So if next year's the last
Chuck
year for
Miller.
that elk
Here we
hunt,
go. Here we go.
you got it. Maybe he don't want to come on.
He does.
We'll make him.
Yeah, right. From
Don't
long
make us come
distance. You're going to answer that phone.
Don't make us come over there with brass knuckles and a spear.
I know.
Well, maybe his hair's not done up today.
His hair.
Mine's not either.
That's why I wear a hat. My old lady whacked all of her hair off. It was all the way down to her butt almost, and so now I call her Eric, my husband. She has real short hair. My mom yells at me for it, but it's funny to me.
Chuck, we're going to try to bring you on for a little while.
I don't
Until,
have a microphone or camera on the computer.
Hmm?
Oh, he's belling out on it. He has a phone. Just need a phone. You just need a phone, unless you got a flip phone.
He probably has a flip phone.
You know his wife has one. Somebody in his family has one.
Could be like John Plump. Everybody but him has one.
You met Chuck Miller?
Me?
Anybody?
He knows
I don't know.
a lot of the people that we know. I mean, he just mentioned Steve Lithgow.
Maybe
Steve
maybe
Lithgow lives
Chuck's-
right down the road here.
Maybe Chuck's one of them people.
He's a
Is
federal
Steve the one that
agent.
works for the college or something, Brett?
Steve?
Yeah.
Steve retired, I think. He used to, he had some hounds and he caught some lions and bears. He used to go up to Ruidoso and Cloudcroft and all that area and hunt.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
talked to him. He was on there way back in the day in the shade tree days. And we got somebody. Oh, Casey's joining us. All right. Okay, now you guys be polite.
Who is this? Why don't you tell us who this is? Who is this?
I told you, he's the guy up by Young.
Yeah, but no one else might have been on. Remember we talked about introductions.
We were going to let him introduce himself because
Oh,
I've
that's
just
easy
barely
enough.
chatted with him on Facebook a little bit.
Oh, well, that's how we
I
all
hope-
got together. That's
Oh.
legit.
I hope he ain't I hope he ain't good looking. Make us look all ugly.
Yeah.
He is. Just shut him right down.
I guarantee you, it don't take much to make us look ugly.
Put the Lorax on him if he is good looking.
Look at who we got
Hey,
over here.
don't put him in my don't put him in my clan.
Okay, here we go. There he is.
Sonoida.
No,
Via
he's
the
ugly
Sonoida
like the
area.
rest of us.
Yeah. We're not afraid.
Casey, how are you?
I'm good, sir. And yourself?
Doing good, doing good. Tell us about you. Where you live, what you do.
Oh, I run a ranch. I'm in Young, Arizona, and I follow a few hound dogs around the woods from time to time.
Do you? And you run a ranch over there?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Have you been there quite a while, or?
On this ranch, about 12, 13 years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your hound dogs? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, just a bunch of sorry mutts that get lucky every now and again.
I got that same line.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
How have you been running dogs for a long time, or is it something you started after you got up there?
No, pretty much. Oh, probably 25 years. 25 years. I've been associated with hounds. I've run ranches all over Healy County here. And this part of the world, everybody pretty much has to have a hound dog, or all the old timers had a hound dog.
Hmm.
Around kind of in self defense. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yes, sir.
How
I
how'd you get into hound dogs?
You know what? Years and years ago, I've got a good friend of mine grew up in Superior, and we knew Billy Martin over there real well, and we got some hounds when we were kids, and all just kind of tortured everything in the woods, and then throughout the years, I got to hunting with some guys up here, and just really fell in love with it, and heck, I think there was a point in time in my life where I was off and on with hounds for probably 4 or 5 years in there, but since then, since I've been here, you know, um, I've always had a pack of hounds. You know,
you
yeah.
tried just to run lion, or do you run bears too?
Oh no, we run. When I got to this place right here, I didn't ever really run bears. I kind of had to start running bears out of self defense here, and kind of put together a pack of bear dogs. I had some buddies that had some bear dogs, and matter of fact, kind of a funny story. He come to me. He says, "Oh my gosh, I got bear hunters packed up, stacked up. I gotta do this." And he had an uncle right here that he knew was preoccupied, you might say. And so I told him, I said, "Well, come up and we'll go run some bears. We'll make some pups." And we kind of got to doing that. I kind of got some young dogs, showed some bears, and just kind of fell into the bear hunting part of it. And
How,
then
how is it? Is that country? Is it fairly easy to get around in, or is it pretty tough to get around in?
super, super tough, super
Is it?
tough. We got lots of big bears, lots of tough bears. I would say up till about 5 years ago, there was probably two or three other guys that really bear hunted this country. There were some guys that come in from out of state and started hunting it the last couple of years. And we hunt bears different. We get horseback and make circles.
Mhm.
And, I never had a rig dog in my life. If a dog barked in a box, we throw a stick
Shock
at
him.
him and beat on the box. Yeah. But we had one dry year, and man, it kind of spun my head around there. I was, them guys were driving around rigging bears, and I was wiping dogs out, and them bears were just traveling, and I
Hmm.
never could get on the short end of a bear track right there. So
Exactly.
I kind of looked into it. I never went that far. I guess I just never did get a rig dog, but no, this country's tough, and there's a lot of this country right here. Like if we just myself personally, I just don't bear hunt. I know I can't stop a bear in that country. It's just going
Yeah.
to be a long, old, tough old race. There's a pieces of country right here that are layups. You're going to roll in there. And you got some big ponderosa pines, and
Hmm.
your success is a lot higher in catching them tougher bears there than a lot of this other country.
That's up there where I was at. Up there, above Kingston. There. That's that's what ruined me for bear hunting right there. I mean, we'd run a bear and shoot, I couldn't get everywhere I needed to go, and I'd lose my dogs for 3 days, and then they'd be sore and laid up. Never would. The only bears I caught were the easy bears, which you say like a layup that would just one that wouldn't run. But if you got one that would run any distance at all, you couldn't hardly get them stopped.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, this country's, it's tough. And, we did some bear hunts like that where I'd send my wife around there with another set of dogs on a buggy or something, or I'd have a buggy
Uh,
close by that we could get to, to get through some country. But, a lot of this country and right here where we're at, them bears get 2 miles ahead of you right there and shoot, you're done. Dang sure, especially in August, September, horseback
mhm.
type deal. You're just not going to make it to them dogs. We had to adapt to get closer to them dogs and shorten them races and stuff up. But it's fun. And then it was all that kind of funny is I kind of had some hound cross dogs right there and boy, we were catching bears and I thought, man, this is easy. This is a simple deal. And I didn't breed no dogs. I didn't do nothing. I kind of got lazy right there. I got real comfortable with what I had for dogs, and then the dogs went to dying. And then, holy crap, I didn't have bear dogs no more. I mean, I had bear dogs, but I didn't have that type of bear dog.
What you say crossed? What were they?
They were crossing Catahoulas with our cow dogs.
Catahoulas, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was listening to that I've been editing that interview with Johnny Clump, and he was talking about one of the best dogs he had was a Catahoula cross. Pretty
Yeah,
silent, but it was a good dog.
I had a little dog that she was half Catahoula, half Hound, and just a super unique dog. She was kind of famous right here around these ranches right here. Like I'd go gather cows with her and start a fresh lion track, catch a lion with her by herself, catch a bear by herself. She probably caught 90% of the game that we caught in a 12-year span right there. I mean, that dog was super cool, like super cool. She was 6 months old. We caught 3 lions one day, and she caught a lion by herself. It was just a nature.
Was she pretty silent on a cold track?
Yeah. When it was always funny, that little dog would whip her tail and roll out of there, and then you'd hear yip 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 yip, and we'd just look at each other. I mean, it was jumped. The deal was done.
I'll be dang.
But I did breed that dog. I never did ever get that dog bred right. She always got bred to a stinking cow dog or something, and it's kind of a funny thing. Two of them dogs that are pretty much. I mean, them dogs are the whole package. I've got 2 pups out of that dog, and they're out of a straight blackmouth cur, which was a total wreck. Neighbor come over, and them dogs right there, they whip their tail and trail and bawl and bark on it just like any hound alive.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
I'll be dang. What when you quit running bears or went to lions? What did you do for hounds? Where'd you go?
I run the same dogs. I
You
run
did?
the same dog. Yeah, and I've always heard that, and that was one of the deals where I never wanted to do that because the old timers always told me, "Oh my gosh, you just can't do it. Them dogs don't settle down." And I think that first year we caught a pile of bears. That first year we hunted bears hard that year, and we went right into lion hunting with them dogs, and they run off, like. And I just looked at my wife, and she's like, "Holy crap, we ruined them dogs." I said, "Sit down and wait a minute." When we just give them about 5 minutes, and them dogs come back and stuck their head on the ground and went to work in the track. I've never had that problem, with slowing them dogs down, and it may just be the dogs that I have. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, they run off of that track for a minute, but it didn't take them. It never took long to get them dogs settled back down the
Get them
trail.
slowed down.
Yeah.
What on your hounds? How were your hounds bred? How were they?
It's right here in this country, everybody's kind of kept these dogs pretty close. They could probably go to Steve Smith stuff. Johnny Johnson right here is my neighbor. I've got some dogs out of him. Out of most of my stuff, my red dogs go to his blood, and that goes way back to the old Klein stuff from over there. I mean, that's these dogs have been in this country for a billion years. I've got some of Larry's stuff that's mixed in here that came from Brooks years ago, and the just typical Arizona dog that's tight.
Just trade between each other over the years.
Right, right.
Brett, Brett, if you look in, I don't know if it goes far enough back on that paper, but Jazz, she'll go all the way back to that pig dog that was
Mm-hmm.
John Klein at New
Right.
River, and that's what I'm talking about. That pig dog was a real famous dog on the desert up there north of Phoenix for years and years, and that's where Jim Brooks hunted with Dale Lee, and he was friends with the Kleins because they were on that 51 ranch after they left the Blue, and so that's how all of this stuff ties together. And then Steve Smith and Larry Hendricks bred heavy into that pig stuff because they were friends of John Klein as well.
I'll be dang. Jazz just died 2 weeks ago.
No kidding.
Yeah, she was about 14, 15 years old, but I kept that whole litter out of her that one time, and they're all good dogs.
Benny, I've heard you talk about them Dickerson dogs, and I had a dog years and years ago that come from Larry that was called Spooky Della Dickerson, and she was a little big old half cross looking thing, and she's a good dog. But we did raise some pups in this country out of her, and they did go on to make great dogs. But I always wondered about that. If you might have known something about that dog.
What was the name?
Spooky Della Dickerson. Larry named her.
I'll guarantee you that sounds like Hendrix.
Oh yeah. She was kind of a little. She was a little big old looking cross thing. Kind of a cool little dog. Just kind of horrible mouth. Sound like you're stepping on her foot the whole day. Kind of made a whole lot of noise, but was dang sure a nice little dog. Yeah.
I don't know about that dog in particular, but before Rick got to be real good friends with Terrell, real good
Right.
friends. And so Rick's dogs got some size on them, but when he was trading dogs back a little bit back and forth with Steve and Larry, he had some of those smaller dogs, and that Popeye dog that he had came from Steve Smith, and that dog threw a bunch of little bitty smallish dogs. But I say that, but then at the same time, most of my dogs on my paperwork that I have that were Hendrix dogs go back on Larry's side. It goes back to a dog. Can't think of that dog's name right now. I could look it up, but that dog came from Terrell Shelley. So it's just like Brett, you and I have discussed this in the past numerous times. All of that Southwest blood from Arizona and New Mexico, and then it got off into Texas. It has its own pool that has different influences from different places. But yeah, that makes sense that dog from Dickerson would be small because, but like I said, before he got into real heavy Shelly dogs, Terrell's dogs had a lot of size to them, just like the Rice dogs, Blue and Rollin.
Right.
Did you ever try any outside dogs from anywhere else? Did you ever go somewhere else to get dogs?
That good buddy of mine sent me some dogs out of Nevada there, and boy, I had a little 3-year-old a couple years ago, and man, she was making, I mean, a straight up number one, a great little dog, and I lost her. I overheated her. I overheated her, and bad deal in a dog box, and I lost her, and then he sent me a litter mate to him, a male dog, and boy, he made a great dog. And I ended up losing him, but I did get him bred to a female that I had that was like 10 years old, and I'd never bred the dog. I wasn't hunting with anybody, with a male dog that I liked, and most of my dogs are females or neutered dogs. And like I said, I got real comfortable there. I go to the woods. I wasn't training puppies. Yeah, it was nice. I went to the woods. I wasn't pulling my hair out. And boy, it did shoot me in the foot, you know. So I went to reaching out and getting some outside dogs, and a neighbor buddy of mine had some dogs, and I run out of young dogs, and I'm like, Kenny, I need some dogs, and he went and bought 2 dogs from Udell Nelson over there in New Mexico, and he sent me a little blue dog, and going back to that dog, she's a Shelly bred dog, and their stuff, you know, and like we talked before, Brad, about, you know, Keith, my wife is related to the Shellys and the Rices and the whole 9 yards. But as far as reaching out to other dogs, everything's right here in this country. I mean, I get some dogs from the Armstrong boys over there in Payson, and their dogs are, you know, bred, just everything comes out of Johnny's stuff right there. Everything's pretty tight right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to
Where
find
did
somebody who. Go ahead, Benny.
Where did Johnny Johnson get started with dogs? All the way back from when they, because he sold out of the cement business early, left the family, and went to ranching.
Right, right. And see, Leroy, his dad was a lion hunter, I guess. You know, I never sat down and really visited with Johnny about it, you know, because as long as I've known Johnny for 40 years, you know, through the cattle growers, he's been, you know, been a lion hunter. But them dogs all come from that country over there, the Cartwrights and the T's, you know, the John Kleins and Goswicks and all that stuff right there. And then they went to they had a dog. I was talking to a kid about it last night, or a buddy of mine about it last night, and he had a Ranger dog, I think. And I hope they're watching, or somebody watching, and then I can get the information on the deal. But they took them dogs and they took one of them dogs and went back to California to Steve Mathis and bred to that line of dogs. And then, you know, just throughout the years, all that stuff has been right there filtered around. And
There's another guy that, Brett, you met him. We don't talk about him. He's passed away, and he quit hunting years ago before he even got sick. I mean, he sold his dogs for a pretty fat chunk of money, but he had a lot of influence in that whole desert stuff, and that was Bill Workman.
oh yeah,
I hear that name a lot. Yeah.
100%.
You never-
Yeah.
I don't think I ever met him. I might have met him when I was with you one time. I don't recall, but
Bill, nice, a class act guy. He could rival Steve Smith for being a good guy.
That's right. If you're talking about Bill Workman in this country, and Bill told you, he says you were struggling and you couldn't catch a lion, and he told you to go over there and tie that dog's leg to its tail and make him spin around 10 times backwards, and then throw him out there and go put him on lion track, you'll catch a lion. You probably ought to listen to him. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
I've heard a lot about him. But he lived in Arizona too.
Yes. Bill had
he had a place right there in Tonal Basin, about 22 miles to the west of me here. Yeah.
He was Justin Mark's next door neighbor.
Yep.
That farm Justin had cattle on and all of that was Bill Workman's. And the house right there, Larry Hendricks used to spend his springtime over there at Workman's. Had fancy dog kennels and a boat, and Larry loved to eat crappie. So he'd go over there in the spring and lay up for 2 or 3 weeks and go fishing. And all of that was Bill's. And Bill actually lived in Mesa, but he also had a place up in the hills too. Somewhere, was it Snowflake or somewhere up there?
I believe Sholo, yeah.
Sholo.
Yeah. Yes.
What about these Southwest Texas guys that have these running walkers? Have you ever tried any of those?
I haven't. No, sir. No. Pretty much all that we've had, you know, right here for dogs is just right here. And like I said, everything's so tight right here. You know, line breeding, if it works, it's line breeding. If it don't, it's inbreeding.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll be dang.
You know Dale Robertson over there?
Yes, I do. Yes, sir. Yeah.
He's got a male dog that's supposed to be something special, isn't it?
Great dog, great dog. Yeah, I've never hunted with Dale. First time Dale ever went lion hunting was with me and a neighbor here. But yeah, Dale catch lion. Dale can dang sure catch lion. Yeah, and works at it. You know that
Yeah,
guy goes to the woods. Yeah.
I'll be dang.
Hmm.
Well,
What
Chris, you're
about?
being quiet up there.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to bring up a name yet till he was almost off. I didn't want to make him mad, but you probably knew Old Man Sealy.
Uh
Sealy.
I know a bunch of them Sealies. It
Well,
there's a
you probably
possibility.
know. You probably know J.P. Sealy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Heck, everybody knows them guys.
Yeah.
Sealy County. It's pretty small.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is there in Young besides some ranches? Anything?
Oh
Grocery
yeah.
store and a
There's
vineyard.
a there's a bunch of nesters now.
There's what?
A whole bunch of nesters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
You know, when COVID hit, there's nothing in Young. And when COVID hit, people can work at home from their computer. You know, years ago, I knew probably 99% of the people in Young, and now I know about 3% of them. Yeah.
I'll
I
be
got a
dang.
question for you. Who I was telling these guys before you came on, when I was a teenager back in the early 70s, their population of young was about four. And we used to go up there. Some people that I knew um, had some property there. And so we would just go camping out on that property and ride dirt bikes. Um, the tire store was about the only thing, and the gas station up on the hill. And I was telling them about that gas station, that it's a time capsule, that the two brothers that owned it died, and then years later somebody came in and bought it and fenced it off. Who owns that now?
I believe you're talking about the Hoagland store, and they kind of rebuilt it and made a museum out of it. I've never been in it, but I've drove by it. Sure, it sure is fancy looking up there.
Is it? It's got the visual gas pumps up on the hill, and
Yeah.
it's like an
Yes.
old or something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's
Yeah.
where I used to get for the motorcycle, is out of those pumps.
I'll be dang. I'll be dang.
See, Benny, that's how old you are. Everything you've been around, things you're
Sure.
making into museums.
I wanted to tell him when he said in the '70s. I'm like, Benny, I don't. I know I look old, but I'm probably not that old.
No, no,
What
no.
part
I
of
was
the
just
'70s?
I was just saying that that's when I was there, and that everything was functioning as an everyday business. And I was up there during the bushfire, and I saw that that deal was all fenced off, and there was a sign there that said you could get a tour from somebody locally owned it. I was just wondering who, because looking at it outside of the fence, it looks like a time capsule.
Yeah, them people. I think they opened it up and kind of made a museum out of it now. Yes, sir.
Did you know Bryce Rose over on tunnel on the other side over there?
I
He
did.
ranched back
Yeah.
a while
Yeah.
ago. I used to stay. That's where I used to stay, and I'd go hunt that side over there. He'd let me
Oh
stay
yeah.
on his ranch.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I used to
I
get. I
know.
used to get all his trashy dogs. He'd say this
Oh yeah.
trashy dog because he ran those blackmouth curs, and he bred them with those Labradors, and he was catching cattle with them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, them dogs he had. I would leave that ranch in my little '80 Toyota just to go do some road hunting. Man, I'd drive 20 miles and his dogs would follow me the whole way. And the next day, do it again.
I'll be
You know,
dang.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
tough dog. But he'd tell me, you want this dog. That's what's the matter with it. It's trashy. So what's it trashing on? Bobcat? I said, yeah, I'll take that dog. I'll take that
Yeah.
trashy dog.
Yeah, and I bet you they could get around some choias. That right there, that's one of the biggest choia thickets in Arizona.
Oh, it's horrible. And they won't let him do nothing about it. Or when he had it, he don't have it
Yeah.
no more. I don't know who has it now, but he wanted to go in there and burn it down or doze it, and they said no. And it's, I guess cholla is not a native Arizona plant, but they still. I said go out there in a lightning storm, and
Right.
but
No,
you can't hardly get rid of those.
I worked on that ranch in 98, 97 or 98, somewhere about in that time for a guy named Mick Holder. And we burned a lot of choias, you know, I mean, but the highway was right there, so we dang sure had to be cautious about it. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
to know Jim Brooks in because Jim and Mick are big buddies.
Oh yeah, I know Jim well. When I kind of got out of dogs and Jim went over there to Texas and hunted, I sent Jim a couple dogs and he hunted some dogs for me there in Texas. I've hunted quite a bit with Jim. Yes, sir. Yep. Yep.
That's neat
Yeah,
country on that side.
the only thing
Wolf
I
Creek.
ever heard about Young was that Dale guy that you were talking about, and
Mhm.
then CJ Proc. I think he
Oh yeah.
lived up there for a while. Did you know CJ or?
I never did meet CJ. I always knew about him, but about the time I was getting in hounds, and everybody wanted to take me over there to meet the guy, and he was falling off pretty bad right there.
Yeah.
At about that time.
He stayed over there with Johnny Johnson.
Curtis
Yeah.
Proc. Yeah, I think so. But he actually had a place. It was funny. We were at church the other day, and somebody was telling me. Actually, Joe Hott was telling me. He's like, I was working on some fits there in Sherry Creek, and somebody's got some hounds over there, and I heard them barking, and I told him, I said, well, that may just be the ghost of old Curtis Proc over there barking, because he's right across the creek right there.
Yeah.
He's like, I could hear hounds barking all day long over there, and I said, there's probably a lot of hounds in that. Right there across the creek, and we laughed and giggled about that. Yeah.
We did some cancer hunts on the other side, and Joe Hott was helping us. That guy's
Oh
a
yeah.
character right there.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
I think he was 70 years old, and that was I don't know how old he was.
I think
He
he's
had that
82.
old crappy wood dog box in his truck. That the worst dog box you ever seen. Like it
Yeah,
just
he's
falls apart.
82, and I hunted lions with him this year in the snow, and we walked. One day we walked probably about 5 miles in about 8 inches of snow. Like that old man still gets through the woods. Still got a good hound. Yep.
Does he still he would rig them lions on the road, but he had that wire kennel strapped on the front of his truck.
Oh, it's the
Did you ever
craziest
see
thing
that?
you ever seen. The
You
craziest
seen
thing.
that?
Oh
I
yeah.
tell
Oh,
people that I swear to God, he had a old metal fold up cage like ratchet strapped on the front of his truck, and that's how he rigged them lions. It's like this far
oh.
from the ground. It was nothing.
Yeah, Brett, if you can picture this,
Yep.
an old 80s model Ford half-ton pickup, and it had a receiver in the front, and he put this little wire dog kennel like you'd buy at Tractor Supply, and he'd stick that dog on the front of that thing. Well, I remember one time they were over there hunting on the north side of the unit, and I was coming up the highway right there, up Highway 260, doing about 65 miles an hour. And here he come off that rim doing about 85 miles an hour, trying to get to some dog. And that old dog strapped, he's in that kennel on the front of that truck. His old ears is flopping, I thought, oh my gosh, Joe Hott, you're going to prison.
He's holding on.
that old slick dog, he just bared down in that stinking box. Yeah.
That's
It's
something.
pretty funny. Pretty
Yeah,
funny to see.
He helped us. His nephew helped us. His nephew used to have a 2-horse trailer cut, and it was in the back of his truck. He had like a 90s first gen Dodge. Did you ever see that? So he'd throw his mule in there and all his hounds, all in one
Oh yeah.
load.
Yeah.
Bucket
Yeah.
there. And he
Yeah.
had Ryan Bader, a UFC fighter out there, and that guy gave up a hunt for the day to come help us, But then Destry, God rest that guy, man. But Destry was out there too, and that's when he had poked his eye out and he had that eye patch in. That guy, and he was cleaned up at that time, found Jesus. But man, once he got trailing a lion, it'd be dark. He's like, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go find him. And he'd ride off in the dark. I'm all, man, you only got one eye. Barely see out of the other one, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess don't drink the water when you come up here. It'll make you goofy.
No. Yeah, Destry is a character. So last time I seen Joe, he was coming off of Gonzales Pass, parked on the side of the road. And I thought he's broke down. I went up, turned around, went and said, hey, and he's like, no, I'm just on the phone. And he had an old flip phone.
Oh yeah.
That was a few years back. But he didn't have that 80s truck. He had a newer 90s Ford, and he had no receiver hitch. He just had it strapped on with those ratchet straps Dang.
I'm gonna
And then
leave it to
Destry
you
didn't
guys
have a
for a minute.
dog box. He just had dogs strapped on the back of his flatbed on the tires and everything.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
yep. But
yeah. That's good.
The guys from Tonto Basin that've been there their whole life, they're a different bunch of ducks.
mhm, yep,
Yeah, there's something to say about the water, maybe. Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
And
the
Bill,
climbs from Tonto Basin related to the climbs from New River too.
I'll be dang.
Yeah.
I met Bill Marshall. I gave Bill Marshall a dog about 2 weeks before he passed. You know, and I'd never really met him. Just talked to him, and I met him. I gave him a dog, and met him at Maverick, the store, and it was dead winter, and he's just wearing a vest. I'm all, this redneck son of a gun. And I pull up, and I think he had a Red Bull and a cigarette. I don't know, but I was like, man, this guy's crazy. And he goes, man, my laundry didn't dry. He says, all I got that's dry is this vest. So don't think I'm white trash. I said, well, first impressions, buddy. But yeah, but I liked him. But then a couple weeks later, man, I guess he's leaning over looking at a bear track and had a heart attack. Did you know any of the marshals down there?
Oh yeah, yeah. Bill, he hunted this country, and then he's got a granddaughter, Amber, and she hunts
Yeah, I
out
know
here quite.
Amber.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know Amber.
She can catch game. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh. And I don't know who else is on that side. It's been a while since I hunted over there.
Right.
Oh. But
You
I remember my
you
dogs didn't know a choya till we got over there, and they
Yeah, on
learned it
that
quick.
on over there on the west side.
Oh yeah, like Wolf Creek, rattlesnake up there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
you said your wife is related to the Shelleys. Is she? How so?
How's that work?
Uh oh, we got a story coming.
Oh, there's the
Maybe
Terrell
You
is
you mentioned Keith.
Third cousin and my great uncle.
Terrell is a third cousin and a great uncle.
oh
Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Roland is my grandpa's cousin.
And Roland is her grandpa's cousin. I don't think there was a lot of people in western part of New Mexico.
hey, it's better than an Uncle Grandpa. That's all that matters.
Well,
You
we're not going to get the
well,
paperwork out on that, but
That paperwork
you
got
mentioned,
lost.
but it's Keith. You mentioned Keith Wilkerson too. Is that just because he's tied into that clan too? He's like Terrell's first cousin.
they're your second cousin, aren't they, Diana?
Yeah, he's my second cousin, but it's because I'm related twice.
Yeah, second cousin related twice again.
They married brothers and sisters.
So
There was
Never mind.
there was
Yeah.
Terrell sent us the paperwork on all that stuff. The
The pedigree.
a while back. And we laughed and giggled. We were at a funeral, but yeah, Keith's a second cousin to my wife. Yeah.
so
Well,
Brett, Keith's hunting partner is our friend Missy.
oh really? He's been hunting with her?
Yeah, or she's been hunting with him. They hunt together. I don't know what. Shame on me. I don't know what Missy's last name is anymore. She went back to her maiden name, Miraz, and then she got married, and they're over there in Mule Creek now.
Oh, okay. I haven't talked to Keith in a long time. And well, see, I knew Keith and I knew Byron, Keith's brother, because I mean, I used to rope a lot. And then, of course, Dale. Do you know Dale? Uh, Dale Shelley. Troy's brother.
Yeah,
He's
I know who he is. I don't know him personally.
He was my neighbor there for a long time. Him and I roped with his boys. Therefore, I had an arena there in the valley there by Hatch, and him and his boys. When his boys first started roping, they all came over there and roped at my place.
Is it? Oh.
As a matter of fact, I think Dale and Destry, his wife's name was Destry. I think they moved back up there to Cliff somewhere for a while. I know they might be there now. I don't know.
There's a question for you and Benny.
Brett and Benny, when did hound hunting become big in the desert? What year? It's still not real
Whenever
big.
whenever there were lions and ranchers, and the ranchers had to keep the lions beat off of the cattle, just like you mentioned earlier. You know, it's been there for as long as there's been ranchers because it was out of self-preservation. When I was growing up, you could go to any desert ranch and there was a pack of hound dogs there.
That's right. Yeah.
I think it got big with social media. It was already going on, but social media kind of brought it to light, made it kind of cool.
Well, yeah, but it also, I better not get started. All right, we'll leave it at that.
It's a challenge. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's different degrees of it too. I mean, there's never been a lot of guys with hounds down in this stinking old desert. I got down here just because it's terrible conditions. The only reason I did is because I caught a lion with those sight hounds of mine a long time ago. I was
Yeah,
calling.
and that was on VH.
I was man. What's that guy's name? Do you know Dave Carlson? Did you ever meet Dave Carlson?
I never met him, but I seen some of his videos. Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh, I watched that was way back in the day, and I watched one of those videos, and I'd been running those coyotes with these big sight hounds, greyhounds, and I was doing it on horseback. I rode some young horses back then, and I seen him, and people had been asking me, well, how do you do this? So I told my wife, I said, grab me one of those cameras in town, and I was kind of being like Dave Carlson because he was a character listening to his videos. I mean, he would cuss a blue streak too now. And I caught that lion with those dogs, and it ruined me.
It was
There,
pretty high intent.
yeah, I was excited. And then it wasn't. I bet it wasn't. It was a dog that came from Rick Dickerson that me and Greg caught. Caught a big old tom up there on a ranch, up there on the Macho. And after that, I was ruined. I didn't care about chasing those coyotes anymore.
Dickerson doesn't have any dogs anymore, and the last dogs he had, he wouldn't sell any.
Really?
Yeah.
Just keeping them?
I don't know. I don't know what he ended up doing with the dogs he had left, but he retired from that job, and then he went back to just being a roper and goofing off. And
I was gonna say he got that roping bug when like my dad told me. He said, "What happens to you guys when you swing that rope over your head?" He said, "Something happens to your brain."
Rattles it around.
We still got to get over there and put him in front of the camera because
I'm going to.
It's going to be an absolute riot. That's just Rick. But he ended up getting hired back to be the supervisor for. I think he was working for the feds, for the animal, whatever they called it at the time, the government trappers. He was the first and the last government lion hunter in the state of Texas. That's all he did was hunt lions. He didn't trap. He didn't call. He had hounds, and he was the only one that ever hunted lions. And when he quit, that was the end of that program. And they're not going to ever do it again, which to me doesn't make any sense because he was extremely successful, and the lions haven't been thinned out yet. But I think he was on the federal level, and one of the universities hired him for their program in the state, and so he's working again. But he ropes all the time. And we ever get over there, we'll see if he'll tell us a story on camera of that young guy that he was going to sell a roping horse to, and that kid abused his horse, and Rick told him to get down from there, and that sale was off, and that kid got smart. And I guess when it was all over with, the cops came and the ambulance came, and that kid had 2 broken arms.
Well, he's like a black belt or something, isn't he?
No, he's just meaner than shit.
It's just me.
That's equivalent to a black belt.
Following hounds around will do that to you.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, in his younger days, he was on top of his lifestyle. He was a lead guitarist and lead vocalist for a rock and roll band that played in the roughest bars in Phoenix where nobody else would play. So he just grew up in Maryville in the west side of Phoenix, and
Ugh.
he hardcore. And it's not
Yeah.
Rick's. You him, Brett. You talked to him on the phone. You'd never think that Rick could get
Super.
on you. Yeah,
He was fun to talk to. I can't wait to go over and interview him.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. And Terrell, I guess Terrell, that's where last few years that he hunted, that's where he'd go over to Texas and hunt with Rick when he.
He spent a minimum of 2 weeks every winter with Dick.
Okay, guys, we're going to have some questions.
Well, go back to that other one. It says how far back do your bloodlines of dogs the Arizona guys has? Shoot, those bloodlines go way back, huh? I don't even think you could hardly trace it. What do you
Yeah,
think,
my
Benny?
bloodline. They went all the way back to John Klein on the tees at New River, Arizona, and that had to be, I would imagine. See, Steve Smith is 9 years older than me, and John Klein wasn't on that ranch. Ventureway had that ranch in the 80s. So I would imagine that these dogs go back like that pig dog came out of the 60s. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it's gotta be. It's gotta be. Today I was gonna get on the phone and call some neighbors and ask about how far them dogs went back. But man, it's been a long time. Like it's been a long time.
Johnny Johnson would know.
Yeah, Johnny would know, and they've been up here on this ranch right there at the, it'd be to the east of us. I think they've been there over 35 years and has had that strain of dogs for over 35 years, and
But then
they came from down there.
get into the Goswicks, and Giles Goswick, George's dad, he was hunting with lions. Of course, that wasn't necessarily the desert up there around Mayer, below Prescott, between Prescott and Interstate 17, but he actually hunted lions on the ranch back when they were offering a $200 statewide bounty on a lion hide.
Right.
So
But-
how far back was that?
Well, where did they all come from? Where did they originate? I mean, what were they? Those French dogs or something, or what?
No, didn't have any of that fag dog in them.
Oh,
That was-
Benny. You're thinking of just these modern ones they brought over.
He meant
I mean, they
cigarette.
weren't just hatched out there from an egg. They came from somewhere.
A lot of them came
Well-
from the foxhounds from back east. People brought them from back east and just spent time and finagled them, changed them all up, and that's where some of Mike Leonard's knowledge comes in. But a lot of those, just like the Lee brothers, were hunting way back then, and they got a lot of their dogs from back east, and they just made dogs out of them.
Mm-hmm. Kept the good ones, and then, well, what about like the Slash Ranch here in New Mexico? The brownie dogs that came out of West Texas there. What's their story? How about that Montague Stevens or whatever? He had those. I mean, that one-armed guy. Did you ever read that book, Meet Mr. Grizzly? I mean,
Yes, the Slash Ranch dogs from West Texas. See, down there on the end of the Davis Mountains, clear down on the western end of Davis Mountains by Kenna, there was a ranch there. I've hunted that ranch, in fact, and that was where. Oh, what was that guy's name? You remember Rob Cox that J.R. Williams hunted with over there in the Oregons?
Yeah.
Rob and I can't remember the name of that. Oh, dang it. One of those brothers from the Slash Ranch came from West Texas on that ranch down there on the end of the Davis Mountains. And that's where they brought those dogs down there to Texas, or they took the Texas dogs to the Gila. Anyway, it just gets back to the same old thing. It gets back to the ranchers fighting for their life and knowing people back and forth and interchanging dogs when they got together.
And no, I mean, those guys couldn't. I mean, they're not going to feed trash. I mean, they're going to, and so they only kept what
They,
worked, and then
they
bred what
believed in
worked.
culling.
Yeah,
They
and bred
believed in
what
culling
worked.
in the day.
Oh yeah, they had
Well,
to probably.
but
These
you know,
days, they don't.
the well, it depends on what your standard is. What are you looking for? Because there's a bunch of trigger happy young thumps out there that really those kids need to be culled. Some of those guys, they think, well, this dog didn't do anything and he's 5 weeks old, and hell, we ought to just knock him in the head. But Brett, go back to what Henry McIntyre told you. Wasn't it Henry that said, yeah, but he's
Yeah,
not doing anything?
yeah, I felt like an idiot. I
Yeah, that's a mistake everybody learns. I got some dogs from Steve Smith years and years ago, like '98, and he gave me two dogs, and I turned them loose around the house there, and one of them I couldn't catch that thing. Well, I caught him with 30-30, and the other one like made a great dog, and
sounds
I
like Benny's
probably
mule.
screwed up. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's all part of the learning process. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, that.
because every dog is an individual, and what chance are they given? And just because their mind's not clicking the same as the one beside them, that doesn't mean that they're, I mean, hell, I still don't have a high school diploma. I should have been called too. But through my life, I've made 20 times more money than the high school principal ever did.
Man, get your spear out, Bonnie or Benny. You look
I
like
just
you're ready to
I just
stomp
got
on somebody.
quiet.
I'm getting
I
kind of
think
scared over
everybody.
here.
I think every hound guy's made that mistake of either culling too early or keeping them too late because you have that hope. You see a little bit of something, but then there's a couple dogs. I'm like, man, I should have held on to those dogs a little longer.
Well, and
But it
it
comes
gets,
with growing.
how hard do you hunt? The Lee brothers had dogs that they sold as finished dogs at a year and a half old.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But those dogs hunted 6 and 7 and 8 days a
Mhm.
week,
Yeah,
and
Yep.
they
yeah.
showed them a lot.
That's right. It's one of I love it when my wife tells me that one's gonna be good. If I just hate a dog like that dog, it'll be something that'll just drive me plumb crazy. So that's gonna make a dog. She's right 90% of the time. But we have such an opportunity here. I'm 18 miles from town. Takes an hour to get there in a pickup truck. My closest neighbor, I think, as a crow flies, is about 9 miles. So them young dogs here, I can turn them loose, and they go hunt. And if I go outside and I kick that dog off the porch, he's probably gonna go find a new home. Them dogs really they learn how to go hunt, and they come home and they're sore footed.
Hmm.
I guess it's just a blessing and the right dogs that, I haven't had to get rid of many dogs, but then we put them on that chain, and then they learn their names, and then we go hunting, so it's a pretty fast process. I don't have to worry. All I have to worry about in certain times of the year, a deer hunter and elk hunter coming through and picking up a dog or something like that. And that has happened even out here in the middle of nowhere. But pretty much I got turkeys and deer and coyotes and bobcats and everything. I mean, heck, if I pay attention every now and again, I'll drive out of here. Heck, I'll have a lion tracking right here around the house, and it them dogs learn how to go hunt, at a real early age. Yeah, and then
Do
you
you,
just from then just take them and go to mashing them and go to hunting them. But the best dogs I've always hated. I mean, I'll admit it. A lot of guys won't. Like that little red dog I was telling you about. Oh, I hated her. I'm like, I don't want that little half-bred, ignorant son of a buck. I hate a black-mouthed cur. I had every reason in the world to hate that dog. That's one of the best dogs I've ever been in the woods with. period. And it didn't matter if you were cowboying, she'd go hold up cattle, and tomorrow when you got there, she'd be standing in front of cattle. She had a bear caught, and you got there tomorrow, she'd be standing there barking every breath under the tree. So
Just
I kind of getting older and smarter now, and I try to make it happen. Like, I hate that dog right there, and my wife would be like, it's just a dog.
do
It
you
don't work that way.
do you get to hunt snow much up there in that area?
Yeah, when in Rome do's the Romans do. Like this
You bet.
winter, I had lots of snow, and I I sent two dogs out. I give my neighbor an old dog a couple years ago, and he had some dogs and was hunting, and I sent him a good old dog, and then I had a buddy that hunted in this country for a lot of years, and we hunted together, and he sent me some dogs, and he wanted to get back into hunting. You may know him, Griffen, Woody Klein. I sent him two of my best dogs, and he's like, I can't take these dogs. And I said, man, I want you to take them. I said, because what you've done for me in the past, he says, but I got a bunch of young dogs out there that I didn't, the last couple of winters, I hadn't got to hunt super, super hard like I wanted to. I'd drive around in a buggy and catch one of them, what I call layup lion, catch a little easy lion, catch a lion in the snow, or have a fresh track, them dogs just weren't getting the experience. And as that weather built up all winter, there's only so much room in a dog box. And so it was a great deal for me. I was able to send some of them old campaigners away and really buckle down on hunting them young dogs.
What you got to do?
Don't.
Boots on the ground.
I was gonna
Oh,
mute
100%.
Benny when you
100%.
started talking about snow. I was gonna mute Benny.
Well, I can promise you, I would love to load my dogs up in a trailer and load two head of horses and get off this mountain. But when you got 25 dogs standing out there, and you cannot get a trailer out of this place half the winter unless that ground is soaking, frozen solid, it's hard to leave.
Oh yeah.
Well, you just stay up there too, because the lions down on the desert are pretty thin right now.
Yeah. That's what they try to tell. They tell, they say that. And I rolled down south quite a bit, in my buggy this summer, and we trailed some lions, caught some stuff down there. But I think the lion population's doing great. They've closed the quota up here, and I feel bad for some of them guys down there in that desert around Globe, because they take this beating, because when it does snow, and we're kind of in that transition point. I believe that when the snow gets real, real deep up north, them guys will leap down here because they can get around in the road system on the north part of the unit. So them guys do catch quite a few lions that go against our quota. But, in all honesty, when you take dry years out of the equation, and you go back to the old rancher deal, like all them old ranchers had a set of dogs. I mean, you've seen it, Benny. All them guys worked, and then they had a lion hunter working 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They had steel out too when it was hot. So and them guys, they didn't let lions go. I mean, in the old days, you when you went lion hunting, when you had time and you took your dogs, you were going to catch a depredation lion. You were taking care of business. And nowadays I think they're letting a lot of lions go, and I don't want to say that they don't hunt as hard as them old timers did, but they don't hunt the same. Drive roads, and I do it. I mean, I'm not pointing any fingers, but I just think that back in them old days, the lion hunting was, them old timers, was more successful than it is in today's. I think there was more lions harvested back then than there are today, even with the deer hunter shooting. That's what I see in this country, and I hunt a lot of country.
There's a lot of things that factor into this deal, though. the Forest Service didn't wage war on the rancher back then. They encouraged the ranchers to be there, and so there were more cattle, and there were people that their Christmas money was brought on by running a trap line,
Oh yeah,
and so
$100.
there was a lot of dead coyotes. There weren't near as many coyotes as there are today, and the population was down in the human population. In Arizona, Maricopa County's got what, 6.5 million people now. And so back then there was 2 million people, and so those 2 million people, half of them wanted to go deer hunting. There was plenty of places and plenty of deer. The ranchers were thriving. They were keeping all their waters up. They were developing new waters. There was plenty of water for the wildlife, and there were people coming from town that would go out there and trap line early in the morning, and they were catching all coyotes. Coyotes were eating the deer population down as fawns, and there's so many factors into this deal. Now, where there was a permit for 800 head of cows, they might have 40 or 60, and there's no deer left because there's nobody keeping the coyotes in check either. And so all you got is just a crumbling. It's a catastrophe for wildlife and livestock alike.
No, no, I totally agree. I guess what I was trying to point on that situation about, as far as dogs being on the ground in the woods, is ranch owners have changed. You
Oh,
see what I'm
sure.
saying? We don't have them old time ranch owners, them guys, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth generation, guys that have dogs and stuff. Lots of these ranches are bought by corporations and new people coming in. It's a different it's a whole different picture. Yeah.
Well, go to People's Valley.
Mm-hmm.
There's a man up there, and I think he's a good guy, but he's got a lot of money, and he's bought every piece of country he can get his hands on. And those guys like Gary Mallory, that son-in-law of Don Pock, that worked on the tees over there for Vanderway, that Vanderway ended up with it after John Klein. And Gary was there at the headquarters. And now Gary's, for I don't know how many, 20, 25 years, Gary left. He was working for Clifford Johnson over there at Seven Springs on the Cartwright Ranch. And that was another one. The Cartwrights had cattle. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but you know, so Gary's been up there in People's Valley, so I've been kind of keeping an eye out, and I used to hunt deer in Javelina up in Yankee Doodle and up above Milk Creek, all of that, and all of that country's owned by that same guy now, and he's not shy about buying up all of those Forest Service permits either. I don't know to what extent. I'm looking for property around Skull Valley, ready to leave New Mexico and get back home. But that's
Right.
hard to find
Right.
too because California
You
screwed it
just
all up.
you just stay in New Mexico. You just stay
And
over there and kill
that
your own
country over
lions.
that country over there's it's always had lots of lions in it, even to the far west. And there's quite a few good lion hunters in that country. I mean, exceptional lion hunters. And there's I can think of three off the top of my head right now that aren't in that country that don't hunt no more. And them guys, they catch a lot of lions. Yanks sure
Mhm.
catch a lot of lions. Dave Carlson was one, Kenny Hott was another that worked right there, People's Valley in that country, and gosh dang it,
Is Kenny
I'm
Joe's
not,
nephew?
they're cousins, yeah, they're
Cousins.
cousins.
That's what
Yeah.
it was. Was he the one that had that horse trailer in back of his truck?
No, no, no. That'd be a nephew. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
I
yeah. And,
hunted.
he's got hounds and hunts. Yeah,
I hunted around Congress, and now driving through there, I couldn't imagine unloading anything around Congress because all that private land's been butchered up and it's full of people.
yeah, yeah. There
Armstrongs
was
catch a lot over there too.
Yeah, they hunt right here in this country quite a bit. Them boys do, and then they stay, they kind of got geared more to the horn hunting, and it was a financial
Yeah,
decision. But them
I
boys can
seen
catch
that.
a line. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Them
we
boys had
we
a
saw dogs around quite a bit.
Them
Yeah.
boys had a good business going on with that firewood for a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They make their money killing big elk and big coos deer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Those
where
guys used to take firewood and sell it at Circle K. You know those little dumb packs for $7 for three people. Those are the guys who fill in those bags,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
They had to be making good money at that.
Oh,
You
I
know,
would imagine. Yeah,
I bet you they're making $1,000 a cord selling 3 or 5 pieces of firewood for $8.
yeah.
And they were
An old
selling
pine
it.
tree somebody want to cut out of their yard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
it
it
would be good to get them boys on here and have them talk. Them boys, they're smart now on the
Jimbo.
dogs that they have, and well, Cash and Steel, the two boys that hunt them
Well,
dogs
didn't
now, and they catch a lion. Like them boys get on a big
yeah.
lion track, that thing might as well crawl up a tree and wait. They're gonna catch him. Yeah,
Wasn't it Steele who dropped out of college just to hunt lions again?
yeah, yeah. He wanted to come
Hmm.
home still. Yeah, he had a full ride scholarship playing football. Yeah,
Yep. Said
yeah.
no.
I mean,
We'll go
I'm
home and
coming
hunt.
home. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Them
I'd
boys,
stop by and talk to Jimbo. I thought, and he'd throw in some DVDs and lions they caught, and real nice guy. He was real nice to me.
yeah, yeah.
So
Good hunters. Great hunters.
where are they out of?
Payson,
Payson.
Basin.
Mhm.
Payson, Star Valley. Yeah, yeah.
Is it? Did they make it illegal to trap coyotes and everything on public land in Arizona now?
I believe
No,
so.
no, no, no. You
Yeah,
can
I think
trap
that's
on public land, right? It just can't be a jaw trap. It has to be live trap,
Oh,
It has to be.
right? Has to be what?
Yeah, that's
yeah.
been
I
that way.
think you're right.
That's been that way for 25 years,
94.
maybe
You can't
more
use
than 20.
yeah. So
That's
yeah, 30 years, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They just made it illegal here in New Mexico in the last couple years, I think. Just
Oh
public
yeah.
land. But now the
But you
coyotes
can
are
use
terrible.
live traps, right?
Yeah, no, but
I have a live trap here in the backyard that catches coyotes. His name is Coyotero Bravo. He's a Great Pyrenees.
I got a one blue-eyed Catahoua that runs loose in my yard. That her and my it was a stray dog that looks like a husky Rottweiler mix that I shot twice with a shotgun, and it kept coming back. My son had it spayed and kept it, and they're coyote getting suckers, man.
what
Coyote
was it?
getting suckers.
What is it?
A stray dog. The first one is half hound, half Catahoua. She's my Corella dog sister. She just kind of runs the yard. She's like a guardian dog, actually. But she'll, her and that another dog that used to be a stray. I shot him twice with my shotgun, and he kept coming back, and my son fed him, had him spayed. Now he's like guard dog, and him and that old Catahoua, they tear coyotes up.
How do they catch them?
They come in my yard to get stuff, and they go out there on the pub. They chase them off and get in big fights. You can hear them out there fighting.
The coyotes will stop and
They'll come in
challenge
and
them.
try to grab a chicken.
Yeah, so they corner them or something. Because I mean, it takes an exceptional fast dog to catch a coyote. I mean,
They don't catch them every day, but you'll hear them out there fighting them.
those coyotes stop to challenge them then, and then
Yeah,
they make a
turn
mistake.
around. Mhm.
Yeah.
The other
I've had
day- Go ahead, Brett.
Springtime, I've had springtime. That's I think the hardest time of them stinking hounds is them foxes and them coyotes. Yeah.
I've almost broken down and just decided I was going to start running foxes. Just said, to heck with it. Let's see if
You'll
we can
start
get
catching lions now.
let's breed them up where we can get the right dog to get them caught, and then I'll just run them. I've caught a few, and I know I trail lots of them. Sometimes I pretend it's a lion, though.
Hey,
That
it's
dog
all in
hunting. I bet you. I don't know about young, but I know on the other side of Pitcher Mountain there, them javelinas are thick.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
everywhere.
We don't have many javelinas here. We started getting into some cootamundis in this country, over the last 10, 15 years, and we'd catch one or two. Them dogs would screw up, catch one. And I never did ever get after them. And the last couple of years, you get a dog tore up, and I kind of went to shocking them off of them. But like I said, we didn't have many here. You'd catch one a year, and it'd be some big old boar by himself. And I was at the neighbors one day, and we caught a pile of them. And I was like, man, this ain't good. It was kind of a wreck.
Yeah, they don't fight fair.
No,
Don't they?
no.
Don't they get under the dog and try to rip at their throats a little bit?
I think when them dogs get a hold of them other dogs get to pulling on them, and they just latch on, and it just tears a dog up.
Stretching. Mm-hmm.
End result. I mean, them dogs will muck a Cuda Monday out, but they're gonna lose. They're gonna late doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. We had a few up by camp, not like y'all do, but there was always a few up there. And I caught, like I told one guy one time, when right at dusk, when you're walking to a tree and you see that tail hanging down, it looks like a young lion.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I was praising dogs, good guys, good dogs, and it was getting dark, and I went up there and I looked, and I thought, son of a gun, that's not a lion.
Or you see them running through the rocks, and you just catch their tail coming in. Real quick.
Well, Casey,
Yes, sir.
let me switch over to the adrenaline side, because that's what I always like, living on the edge. You ever get up there flying out with a stick real close range?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Here a couple of years ago, it was funny. I had a kid working for me, and I just sent him a lion hide. We caught a little female right here by the house one day, and it's froze up, son of a gun. And we had some elk hunters a couple of days before, and I left a knife up on this mountain, and we were putting out salt the night before, and seen a lion track. I said, well, we'll make a circle in the morning. We knew it was going to be froze up hard. We come around there, and we made a little circle, and that sun come out, that track, we had a track right there about a mile and a half to the north of that deal. And long story short, we caught this little lion, and she just kept jumping. She's just a wild little orangutan. And we were in some good little set of bluffs. Like, she couldn't get away from them dogs, but she thought she could. And we got her down there, and I'd sent Drew back I had some pups at the house. I said, go to the house and get them pups, and the trucking trailer wasn't very far. So he went and got him, and we got there, and he wanted to kill the lion. So he shoots the old lion in the tree, and the lion comes out, and there's a big old rock slide. And I ran down there, and you know how you do, you go stick your foot on that thing's neck. And I had it by the tail, and it's kind of fighting them dogs a little bit. And she reached around there and bit a hole in my foot. Just got a hold of the top of my boot, and I got my boot yanked out of her mouth. And I'm hollering at him to get down there and shoot them dogs. Well, there's about 10 dogs right there, just wallering this thing around. I got it by the tail. I'm trying to get it out away from me. And that thing crawled up my leg, and stuck a claw in there. And I finally got her shook off, and we got the lion killed. And he's like, that thing was eating you. And I said, yeah, go get my boot. It's in that rock pile about on that rock all the lions I caught, that was the only one that ever had its way with me. Yeah. And you talk about sore. I couldn't walk for about 2 weeks. My leg, just that old stinking dirty claw in that thing, it turned black for about 3 weeks. But it bit through the top of my boot, just kind of indented my toenail.
Oh,
yeah.
You felt it.
Oh, I felt it. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, there's I like to crawl in that tree and poke one out with a stick. Yeah, right here, a lot of, just depending on which way we head in the morning, a lot of times them lions will get in a big pine tree, but a lot of times they're in a good oak or good juniper. Guy can get up there and poke him out with a stick, or like them northern guys might say, see if it's a tom or a female. Yeah.
We caught one over by the greenbacks over there, and it was only about 5-6 foot in the air in a little cedar tree. Oh, it's for a cancer kid.
Yeah.
Got the.
Y'all have a lot of elk in that country?
Not many, not on this side. We're on the south side of the unit. We don't have we got great elk here, but as far as trophy quality elk, we got great elk, but not many elk.
Do y'all
Oh,
do y'all have a lodge or something there? That isn't there something that uh you have a lodge that you guide out of or something?
Just right here out of the house.
Out of the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah,
Okay.
right here out of the ranch. Yeah.
Because I think it was your wife I was talking to, because we were
Mhm.
thinking about having a little get together sometime, at least me and Chris. And
Yeah, that would be great.
we're not supposed to
We
tell
thought about
Benny.
doing one. We had talked about that about doing doing one at our shipping pins, but there's a big campground to the south of us right here that my wife does ministry stuff, and she's got it booked for in August. I don't know the dates, but it'd be a great place to have a camp right there. It'd be good.
at that campground,
Yeah.
I mean, well, me and
Well,
Chris talked about it. We haven't
yeah.
even talked to Benny about it yet.
Well, he's gonna
Benny's
invite.
top secret about stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we was gonna invite all the peasants. All the peasants could come to this one, not Benny's rootin', high tootin', polluting, bougie
lower
one.
The lower class
Invitational
guys.
only, yeah.
Yeah.
Secret handshake, tattoos.
I was hunting the other day and I ran into a neighbor here. I think you had him on here a while back, Max Nichols, and we were talking about it. And I feel it's something that needs to be done with this younger generation of guys. Yeah. Yeah.
At least so we can fight them, put some respect in their teeth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I won't even listen. I won't even use the brass knuckles.
You're not bringing the brass knuckles. I'm getting too
No,
old to fight
I'll
anybody.
put.
Oh, it's just everybody, like you guys have talked about it on here, social media and the whole 9 yards. I don't post nothing. Heck, I hate to even say it to the world. No, I'm proud of it. I've never sent an email in my life, but
That's good.
it's we got to come together on this deal, or it's
Yeah.
going to end. It's going to end. It's going to end. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of it too. And I talk to a lot of younger guys, and they can't find no one to help them. But man, I tell you what, some of this young generation don't have respect, and I'm not, and it all goes back to like your hunting area.
Mhm.
If someone shows you a hunting area, you don't just go blowing in there killing stuff. You kind of get permission, even though it's public land. It's still respect. The respect, the respect level it's not where it used to be. Hey, you
No,
mind if I
no,
go in there? But
no,
and it's hard
I
to
agree
find
with
a
you.
good mentor.
Right.
So
Well, if we decide to
I
do something like
know.
that, Benny, would you help us?
What do you want to do?
I don't know.
Just have a get together
Just a
with a
little-
bunch of people?
Yeah, just something
like
like
a
that.
little rendezvous. You're the bouncer,
Yeah.
so you can.
No,
Like
you know what?
there's a lot of young guys
You're-
coming up that are good lion hunters. There's some kids out there, throughout the state that dang sure got a pack of dogs, and they're working at it. They're doing just what all them old timers did, and just I think open it up to anybody wants to come. Really, I mean,
That's what
yeah,
I say.
it's going to be based on being a houndsman, but we dang sure got to stand up and get along versus just slamming each other on Facebook.
Well, let me
What did
tell
they
you my
say? A
story
united
today.
front?
My story today is I talked to this guy. He was doing some cameras at the job, and just got out of the military. Been out about 5 months. Never been hunting from back east, like DC area. Been in Alaska. Never done no hunting. Quit. And I'm like, let's go. And he was interested as heck. Gave him my number, but I love taking those people that's never been hunting, never, because it's easier now to get them to be a hunter. Why they have no experience in it. When an anti-hunter comes along and starts putting ideas in their head, guy don't even own a gun. Don't even own a gun. I'm like, you're in the military, bro. Like, I said, hey, listen, if you need to know, I sent him some websites. I said, if you want a gun, pistol, send it to me. I'll tell you if it's going to be decent, But I think there needs to be more people out there that take people by the hand and, find those people that don't hunt and used to hunt. I get that a lot too. I said, yeah, oh, when I was a kid, I hunted. They just get busy with work. It just was,
Right.
and then I
No, and
think
I
a
think
little
that what you
Ron.
guys do up there at that coon trials, I mean, I've known
Oh
about
yeah,
that my whole life for, however long that deal's. And dude, that deal's cool. Like, get
oh
everybody to
Donnie
come.
Randall.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and do that like that. That's cool. We got to get this generation in, and I've got some grandkids coming up, and heck, I've been looking on the on the YouTube deal on these little beagle dogs, and I kind of thinking of doing some other stuff with them beagles, but I thought, man, how cool would that be to just have a little set of beagles right here and go hunt with my grandson? Like I can't
Yeah.
outwalk
Yeah,
you with little ground anchored suckers, just I could have so much fun right here in the yard with a set of beagles and my grandkids, and not just wipe their feet out, drag them around
oh,
this country
oh,
when they're little.
oh,
And
Cleve Dwyer. That's what
yeah,
Cleve Dwyer. He runs a lot of that stuff. Starting to run it.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Some beagle crosses.
Hmm.
yeah.
My
Oh,
young,
that beagle has been around for forever, but
Hmm.
I just was looking at little beagle dogs, and I'm like, man, them little tight, twisted, tail whipping son of guns, like I have to have one.
Oh, they're fun to watch trail. That
Oh man, neat, neat, neat. And I just thought about that, like the next generation coming up, my grandkids and stuff. Like, what's just right here where I've got the opportunity, I could go out in this creek or out on that mesa and trail rabbits around and just have a ball right there.
oh yeah.
Yep. Got to get them out.
Well, cool.
my youngest son had beagles, and they're what trained my when I was out of dogs, and I didn't have any dogs for a few years, and I decided to get back to it. And my two pups that I ended up with, those beagles trained my hound pups how to run rabbits out here in this sand in the summertime, and that's got those little hound pups a good head start. And so from that point on, I let beagles run with my hound pups. Every time I had a litter of pups, they just ran free and hunted rabbits all day long with those beagles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
Well,
I just
cool.
on back to that camp deal. We just got to get, we can't say you're going to get everybody on the same page, but then people get to know people in a personal aspect. Like back in your day, Benny, them guys, you picked up the telephone, you called Larry Hendricks. Like when I met Larry, I drove to Larry's house. I've been through the Bill Workman Scotch and eat tortillas, and like that. You wanted to meet them guys, and you did that. And nowadays, I know you because of social media or something. There's no personal interaction, and I think that would help strengthen it. The hound part of it a lot better.
I remember that when I show up at your house expecting tortillas.
Yeah, we always got a tortilla around here.
Well, it's something to think about. I've never done anything like that. I don't know nothing about it. So I'm not, and I'm not, I mean, I'm on social media, but I kind of just do my own thing. I'm not,
Right.
I'm not real.
Yeah, if it was something you guys were interested in doing, I've got a wife that's phenomenal. Stuff like that. Yeah, like
Cool.
she could put something together, and we've got a ministry deal, and through our ministry, like we've got big tents and the whole 9 yards. We could set up a big
Ah,
tent in.
dang.
We could have a heck of a camp, and then it's just from there, just outreach, reaching out to people, and getting people invited to show up.
That's what we was talking about. Just put the word out, see who shows up that first year. It always grows by word of mouth.
We got
Right.
83 people in watching this right now. How many people think it's a good idea? Give us a thumbs up,
There you go.
and watch it. We'll probably get thumbs down.
Have we got any tonight? We always get
No.
one. We haven't got none tonight.
No, we
Yeah.
haven't got.
I feel like we're slipping.
Oh,
Come on, Benny, say something.
Sorry.
We had 83 people on here. Now 2 just left.
Oh, yeah, offended him. No, not a good idea. Not a good idea. That'd be fun. I mean, just to sit around and tell some stories and maybe try to get a couple old timers there.
We try to get
maybe
Benny
some
there, but
even
we got to
real,
be
real.
careful with Benny.
Well, I didn't say
Yeah.
real old timers. I said just some
We,
old timers.
we put a cage around him.
Take a spear away.
big, big sign says "Don't poke the bear."
Yeah. I think we'd get a few
Gosh.
people there, and I think we kept it real, informal. Just kind of come out and try not to get too drunk and talk too much crap.
I don't know. Some of those
No, I
guys
mean,
were.
I'm willing to help you guys anyway on that deal. Like, if you wanted to have something like that, Chris, heck, I we've got the opportunity and the assets to do it. I'd be more than willing to help on a deal like that.
Yeah. Mainly, it's all we need is some area, a little bit of area. You know what I mean? I don't know if we have to
Yeah.
get all crazy with the tents yet. We were just gonna test the waters, and then, you know, and then the next year we'll have Benny cooking in his Kiss to Cook apron and everything.
Yeah.
I don't have
No,
my.
there's a campground here that you rent, and we have it for, I think, in the end of August is when it is, and I haven't checked, and it may be an opportunity to get guys here and bear hunt. I mean, you're going to be in the heart
Oh,
of Great
wow.
Bear Country, and it may be
Yeah,
right during the opening weekend of
man.
our seasons. Yeah.
Yeah, I stay out of Young during that. Everybody goes to Young.
Yeah.
Everybody. It gets crowded over there. I've never
Huh.
even been over there bear hunting. Just don't want to. I don't like dealing with too many people either.
Right.
So, but I think maybe if we just cut some trees down, block the road off season of the season, and then we can get a
Well,
chance
that's
to
the
hunt
thing.
by
In this
ourselves.
country out here, if you dump your dogs down a bear track, you better be committed because there ain't many. There
Yeah,
ain't many ways to get you to a bear in this country. It's kind of
yeah.
like that country that Brett was in over there. It's you're going to have to go mash through some country to probably get
That's
to
like
a tough type bear.
that's like Area 27. There's no
Mhm.
roads like 3B or 1. It's
Yeah.
That was the
you may
problem
be
with our. I mean, besides being rough, it was wilderness. If those bears ran back to the northwest, you were done. To get across there in a mule, even if those bears went 5 miles, you might have to go, 25 miles to get around back to them.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And then they don't maintain the Forest Service doesn't maintain the trails, so the trails
Mhm.
are all gone, and there's nobody. The Randy Lindsay was about the only one who ran cattle up there, and they don't keep, there's no cowboys anymore keeping the trails beat out, so it's just terrible to get around. It's
Yeah.
worse now. I was up there the other day. I went up there and picked up a camp that I packed in, and there's nobody up there. Now that I'm gone and Randy's gone, there's nobody beating the trails out up there at all.
Mm. Just one set of hoof prints, and that's Brett's.
There was a big old lion track too coming out of there. I told you guys about that. I packed that when I took that tent in there. I was coming out, and I wasn't gonna get back to the truck until way after dark anyway. And I was coming out, and that lion track was probably had to be just 3 hours old. It was bigger than my mule's foot, and he was going back into that country, that bad country. I just shook
Jim,
my
I
head.
can't make tamales. I can't make tamales out of 2010 bear meat. I'm out of it. But I got some 2012.
We
You
might
got
have
any
to prairie dogs.
What's that?
Have you got any prairie dog?
No, we don't have
Oh,
prairie dogs in this country. No prairie dogs up here.
what is it? Granta.
Per
Granta.
dog. They make
Per dog. Per
tamales.
dog. Who's telling us
We
that
could get
story? Per dog.
we we can get Calvin to come and he can pick up some prairie dogs on his way through.
There you go. There you go.
You guys can have the
Where
prairie dogs.
I haven't seen Res Dog on here tonight. Is he here?
No, I haven't seen him.
Nah. No. He's busy chasing lions and bears.
Yeah.
I don't know when their season starts. What you say, Brett?
Well, I'm just thinking. I think it'd be a good idea.
What's your favorite story there? got a good story besides the one that bit your foot?
Oh heck,
What
no,
your best story? Everybody says the same thing. They have to think about all the stories and try to pick out the best one.
no, no, just a work in progress. Just a work in progress, I guess.
Yep.
How about your best
So
hound? The best hound you had that Catahoula, that half Catahoula. That was probably your best one. Is that true or
Yeah, that I probably have, all around dog, complete full package. But I say that too from a cowboy stand, like as a cow dog on top of that. Um, I have a dog right now that goes back to a Bud Swagel dog and Travis Dodge Hill dog, and I've got him on loan to a guy there in town that's pretty fancy dog. Like that dog's cold nosed and can push a track and dang sure neat dog. Yeah, I think the best dog I'd ever been around. Years ago, there was a guy over there on the reservation that hunted on the White Mountains by the name of Fred Peters, and he sold some dog. He sold his pack of dogs, and Steve Smith ended up with them. And I went with Joe Hott, and we picked up them 3 dogs. And there was a white dog in that bunch called Tex. And me and a guy were talking about that dog last night. And as far as I'm concerned, and I've been around a few dogs, not a pile, but that dog was the complete package, like straight up best dog I ever seen. Like a one man band, just a smart dog. But that dog had seen a lot of lions. That guy had that reservation over there, and he had some collared lions, and he was that guy hunted them dogs quite a bit. And he every week he put them down a good catchable lion, on dry ground. That dog was keen, and
what?
and the guys that ended up with that dog years later, it made them. I mean, and they'll admit it. Like they had great dogs and they could catch a lion, but that dog just improved their hunting and their dogs. Like that dog was legit.
What kind of traits did you what did that he had besides catching game? I mean, what do you think he excelled at?
That dog was just he was cat minded. I mean, everybody talks about a cat minded dog, and a lot of people have seen stuff that I haven't seen, but that dog, like and that dog, he'd be what you'd call a mouthy dog. Every time his foot hit the ground, he said something. Whoa, 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 whoa! Just a real ball mouth, kind of annoying son of a gun. But we was telling that story last night. They just got that dog, and they had some dogs they could dang sure, what anybody would consider good dogs, and they went down the canyon and hit a lion scratch. Them dogs hit that scratch, and half them dogs left. And old Tex, he went down there about 30, 40 yards and then just spun around and come right back by him. And them guys hunting him at that time, they'd listened to the guy they'd got him from, and they said, "What do you think that old mouthy son of a buck's doing?" They said, "Well, they told us to get out of his way, leave him alone." And like he just spun that lion scratch around, went and called lion. Took that track 300 yards back behind him and rolled out to the left and called lion. Just the dog did freaky stuff. And I don't believe any of it was by accident.
He big brain. He was a real smart dog.
Smart dog, smart dog. You could go into a piece of country and be riding along there that you'd never been in your life and look over and think, man, lion would walk, around that tree right there, and you'd look and that dog would already be right there. I mean, the dog was keen, was super
Yeah.
keen. You could ask old Smitty about him. That dog was legit. Like just as a young guy, young hound hunter at the time, that dog, just watching him and paying attention, boy, we learned so much from that dog.
It's always nice to have a dog like that. Always nice. Teach you something.
Yeah,
What
I've probably been around 100, 150 hounds since that dog, and I can't think of a dog that would even start him. What that dog was. Like that dog was he was something special, something special. that poor dog, he didn't get the credit. You know, they always say, "Oh, that's the best dog over 5,000 feet." That dog would have been the best dog trailing a line across the sandy beach. You know, that dog, he had all the tools. You know, that dog was a complete package. He trailed good, he treed good, he could unsort a track, like he could push a track. You know, he could slow down and grind a track if it needed to be. Like that dog was special.
He did it all. And where did he come from again?
Right there in Sholo by a guy named Fred Peters. And them
Hmm.
dogs, I'm not 100% sure the guy I was talking with last night because I know one of them dogs went back and was straight Terrell Shelley bred, but I think them dogs came from Terrell.
How long ago was that Fred Peters guy around? Was he an older guy?
Oh, yeah. I think he quit hunting. I'm trying to think when that was, 88 or 89. I'm don't hold me to that, but that was,
Was he
yeah,
still
it's been
alive in
long.
like 2005, 2008 ish?
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you.
I had
I
an
never met
old guy.
never met them. I never met the guy.
The name sounds familiar because I had an old guy. He was in his 80s, and it was about I was at a Circle K, and it was like 2000, in between 2005 and 8, and he came up to me and I had a dog box, and he started telling me how he knew Dell Lee, and back then I didn't know the Lees, and I didn't know all that good stuff. You know, I was just trying to catch something. But he came there's Res Hounds, and he came up and started talking to me, and I sat there and talked to him as long as I could, man. If I could have thrown him in my truck and took him home to listen to him, I would have. But that Fred Peterson, it sounds familiar. He's kind of a tall, slender guy, if I remember. But
Yeah, if you pick up Arizona record books, he's got a pile of bears in there and a pile of
mm,
lions. Like that guy, he caught game. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You know, Steve Smith went and bought his pack of dogs. That tells you something.
Yeah,
Like
that's
when you
good.
got there. Yeah, like he was the real deal. Like had good dogs. But I believe as far as Cass was telling me back, there was one big old dog in that deal. We never bred to him, and me and a friend of mine were talking about. We were like, we never bred that big red dog, but he was kind of like you said, that old Terrell Shelley stuff. Like he was a big sloppy eyed, big coon footed. Like he is horrible to look at, you know. And I guess we were just blindfolded and wanting to make the perfect dogs at that time. But that dog was he was exceptional. We just never bred a female to him, you know. I mean, and he was kind of one of them old timey hounds. I'll never forget it. We went and picked them dogs up, and this goes kind of back to the story. Oh, I guess the box on the front of the truck is an improvement to what it was back in them days. Well, we had an old dog box and went to put him in there, and we had some hunters coming and went to put him in there, and he went to growling at everything. So he got tied on the back of this dog box with a hay string, and away we went. We left Steve Smith's house with them dogs, and we come around to a little place here called the Bar X's, and there was maybe 5-6 inches of snow on the ground, and I looked back and there was a collar and a hay string hanging next to that truck. We kind of had to guess it to get through that snow. You know, we were going to get stuck. We were headed south, and I said, Joe, stop! I said, that dog's gone. And we turned around. That dog was standing out there in this flat, and he's just looking at us. And he just growl at you. I mean, like I said, he had one eye that sagged down an ear. I mean, he was horrible looking, and kind of ghostly. And that old dog's just standing there growling. I'm like, who's gonna go catch him? And he looked at me, and I was the young guy, so I had to coax him over there and get him caught. I said, I don't care about these crappers in that box. I know you just paid for these, and I shoved him in that box. And we tied up one of them mongrels on the top of the thing and went off. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's
Here, we
right.
got a question here you guys need to answer.
well, he asked twice already.
I know. What are the foxhound breeds and the coonhound breeds? More or less, what's the difference between a coonhound and a foxhound? Tree hounds and foxhounds are more like running dogs, aren't they?
You know, I don't know anything about the foxhounds.
I
Looking at them, I think they're all walker-looking dogs, one form or
The
another.
fox sounds. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Now,
Yeah, I don't.
I got an interview where I went and interviewed Charlie Settles. I've never shared it yet, and I did that. Well, Charlie's passed away. Charlie went, and Charlie was a heck of a houndsman. One of these guys you never heard about, and he hunted with Dale Lee catching jaguars down in Mexico, and then he hunted lions in Arizona, and then he went to Oregon. Then he hunted in Canada and trapped for a living for several years. And when you talk to him about foxhounds, they were about hounds. And they say, I said, how did you these dogs you have? Because he called them foxhounds. He said, oh, I just had foxhounds. I said, well, how'd they do compared to those dogs to the lease? He said, oh yeah, just as good. He said they trail just as good as those dogs. I mean, he didn't make any bones about it. And he was an old man, and he was fun to talk to. But you're right, they're a walker is what they are, I think. And
I
then
think, yeah, most of the real super high dollar coonhounds today, I think, are walker dogs.
yeah, I guess so. I don't I talked to that Josh Michaelis, and man, they got those bred to a like I said, I know I said this before, but they've got them bred down to where they're so independent that sometimes the male dogs won't even breed a female. They're just real independent.
Jeremy said foxhounds are foxhounds.
Coonhounds
Coonhounds are walkers, blue ticks, English, red bone, black.
There you go.
There's your
Zachary.
answer. Hey, we got to start over too. Calvin said he missed it all. He forgot it was Monday.
Hey, Calvin, they're talking about having a big hound dog get together over at Young, Arizona sometime, and I suggested that somebody bring some prairie dogs so we could make some tamales. Can you possibly make it if we time it around your schedule? When you leave the res, can you pick up some prairie dogs on your way through? And give him something to think about.
Probably bring some bear meat.
However, there's good dogs in every breed.
Oh, yeah, and for me, and just like we're talking about tonight, all of these dogs from the Southwest, they're not necessarily a breed. They're a conglomerate, and we call them red ticks and blue ticks and walkers and all of that just because of their color. But all they are is just a conglomeration of hounds that's been put together by everybody involved, and they come out with different color phases.
Yeah, that's right. This pack of dogs that I have right now, I've got blue dogs, I've got red dogs, I've got a white dog, I've got 2 red dogs that are, oh heck, they got blackmouth cur in them, and they're blackmouth cur half and Catahoula and hounds. Like they're kind of everything, but when they work, they work.
Yeah, that's
you see Calvin's answer.
Yeah.
That meat.
No,
the meat sticks.
I'm good. I'm not a fan of that meat. That meat sticks with you for days, and it's not a good smell, too.
That sounds like an experience answer right there.
All right.
Sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
Look like it's 2010 bear meat.
But it's just like these high tan dogs, and I'm a fan of high tans just for their color. And I had 2 high tans that were phenomenal dogs, and they're a cross to get that color. You got to cross a walker and a black and tan, and that's what gives you that high tan. So it gets back to what we're talking about for lions and bears. They're not necessarily, and especially in the Southwest, they're not breed specific.
Yeah.
I always ask people what your favorite color is. What's your favorite color there? Damn flies.
I had a bear dog that was hell on wheels for fighting bears, and he was half bloodhound and half plot. He couldn't whoop a Chihuahua if the Chihuahua was already tied to the ground, but it didn't keep him from fighting. And he was really a sight to behold with those long ears and saggy hide and all them stripes on him.
I like
Yeah.
a light colored dog, a white dog. Seems like they do better in the heat.
Yeah. I was a blue tick
Yeah,
fan.
I like them all. Like I said, a dog that works, a dog that works. But I do get pretty colorblind. Like I like these little red dogs, that we've raised in this country. And you get a dog, I think, that cowboy dog out there, he's got to be 50 pounds. Most maybe 50-pound dog, and he's giant for what these dogs are. Most of my dogs are 30-pound dogs. They they're fast footed and pretty tight twisted.
And I'm
And
I like a
and
good
even I'm sorry. Go ahead.
uh, for looks. I like a red tick. I mean, I like a dog that's red and white.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty unanimous across the board when you ask a houndsman. They'll hunt anything that hunts.
Oh yeah.
But I know everybody has, like, I grew up wanting a blue tick. I just like the looks at them, a big dark face. I just liked them.
Well, I kept that whole litter out of Jazz, and every single one of them looks completely different.
Yeah.
Timmy's a little blue dog, and Al's a big white dog, and Uno is black. I mean, he's got a black back with white legs, and they're all litter mates.
Jazz's mom was a little blue tick, a light colored blue tick, and her dad was a real big dog. Some of that stuff that Mike Leonard put together back in the day, that Chris Todd still has that stuff. And he was just a big old, he was a solid looking dog, but to me, he was way too big. But he was a red dog with white on him, and the red was a real pale red, and she came out red tick. So, it just gets back to Travis Dodgehill. He had a bunch of dogs that were black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, and bigger dogs, cold nose, good nose dogs. Them dogs were, and I've got some dogs out there that go back to that stuff. Travis's original stuff, and it was a cross that him and Brooks had made, and I ended up with some stuff that went back to that, and it was on another breeding, and boy, them dogs had a lot of nose. A lot of nose. Them dogs were cold nose dogs. Yeah.
Do you believe a dog can be too cold?
No. It at the end of the day, I don't care if I catch a lion. If they're trailing this winter, I trailed a lot of tracks that I knew I couldn't catch that lion. But I had a different agenda too. I was hunting a bunch of young dogs, so if them dogs could trail it, we trail
You're
it.
happy. I mean that's the way I am. But I heard Warner Glenn say that he said those old dogs we had were cold nosed. He said too cold. He said he said we did a lot of trailing. We didn't do a lot of catching. But that was
Right.
a different time and probably and a different reason for hunting. I mean, like you said earlier, they were hunting out of self defense.
Right. Yeah, and
Calvin.
every time I go to the woods, I try to keep, I hunted with them old timers, and oh gosh, dang, let's pull them dogs. They can't catch this thing, and man, I just as a young guy coming up, I'm like, I'd give anything to have that dog right there. We're still trailing. Like, what are we doing going home? Like, it ain't dark.
Yeah.
I had that drive. I had that passion.
And he
so
could
I
be
guess
right around the corner.
Exactly. And I've always been like, man, I don't care if this track's 2 days old. I've caught lions and went back and trailed that track that's 2 days old, that's in tough conditions, and them dogs can still trail it. That's the dog that I want. I don't want to go to the woods the way that I hunt 90% of the time horseback. I don't want to step over that lion trap.
I'm with you.
Whether I can catch it or I can't catch it.
I know. I agree.
So Calvin wants to know who our guest is because he got here late.
Let's just stop the show. Let's just stop the show for Calvin right
It's
now,
what you
guys.
get for being late, Calvin.
Yeah.
It's your
Now
punishment.
you get 3 guesses, like Rumpelstiltskin. You get 3 guesses, or you have to give away a lion hunt and a bear hunt.
Dig in his pocketbook. That'll get him. That'll get him on time.
Casey, tell him who you are.
Calvin, I'm Casey Fair. I live in Young, Arizona.
There you go.
He ran young Arizona.
He's a rancher that runs lions and has hounds and has done it for 25 years. And what else? It's a cowboy. You even rope a little bit, don't you?
Oh, if I can get out of here, I can.
Nah, now I see your face. I think I've seen you somewhere before.
Probably so. Yeah.
I used to go everywhere.
Zachary, I had some dogs from the Pox that were on the desert there north of Phoenix, and they ran about an eighth bloodhound in those dogs. And I also had some regular bloodhounds, full-blooded bloodhounds. I was going to have a man tracker at one time because I've always wanted to trail people. And it just, you get into these dogs and it depends on the person. I don't know about the Majestics and I don't know about anybody that's got a basset hound, anything to get fat and lay around.
Well, isn't a Majestic just a cross between a bloodhound?
I don't know.
What is Zachary's game here? He keeps asking, is he looking for a dog? Is he trying to get into dogs?
I don't have a clue.
What's your game here there, Zachary? Are you looking to
even know
get
what I
into
said.
dogs, or are you just curious in general?
And what's an American lion hound?
That's what I got.
One born in America? I don't know. Well, I've seen the lion hounds. Lion hounds is don't they look like a wolfhound kind of? I think. I don't know. I guess
I
I
don't
can
know.
name it.
I know.
Transylvania.
What I want to ask you, since I've been now, can you see my hand? I had another run-in with a mule the other day. I mean, this one and the mule won.
You're not going to tell that story.
I'm going to tell how to riding.
Oh.
This is the third time I've done this, but this is the worst reaction I ever had from this. I'm riding back to the truck, and it's like almost dark. The dogs they caught something in a hole up there. I don't know if it was a fox, a bobcat, or it could have been a lion. I don't know, but I was coming out. And on that little trail, there was a little black canister thing that you clip onto your belt. And I'm going back to the truck on this mule I borrowed. I'm on a borrowed mule. And going back, and I see that thing, and I thought, I'm too tired. I don't want to get off the mule and get it. And I get about 30 feet up there, and I think, oh, man, I better see what that is. And so wait a minute, I got to turn this thing off. Let me see if I can get it. It's going to turn us off if I don't do something. Anyway, where is it? Anyway, I get up there and I get off the mule. I step off and I turn around. Of course, I got a pack mule with me because I packed water, and that mule would not lead. Just locked up, and I just did everything in the world, and she locked up tight. So I used my same old trick. I got that shock collar off that dog, or that tracking collar off that dog, and I was mad at this mule anyway because I'd been fighting her because she didn't want to go up the hill where I was going. And I put that shock collar underneath her, and I asked her to go, and when she didn't go, I mean, I didn't. I should have turned it down, but I left it on the highest setting. And I shocked her, and let me tell you what, she went right smooth over the top of me and knocked me about 20 feet into the boulders. I laid up there in those boulders. The pack mule took off that direction, and she took off that way. Oh, man, here I am out here in the middle of nowhere. And
So
what?
why in the heavens you have your drone flying so we could all watch this?
I know. You should have sent it up right then.
Man, I was tired, and I thought, I'm not going to ever be able to catch this stinking mule up here. And she stopped, and she looked at me and just stood perfectly still. And after I gathered up all my stuff that scattered all over the place, and I walked right up to her and caught her. She's like, she didn't even know it's like. It scared her. She didn't know what was going on, what bit her, but she ran over me so bad. And then the pack mule, I had to go catch her. She's usually hard to catch, and they were pretty tired though. So yeah, so lesson be learned. Make sure you're standing a long ways away from them, because I wasn't even standing right in front of her. I was standing off to the side. But I guess when that thing bit her, she wanted to come to me, and she just boom.
Oh, I miss out on some of the fun.
Well, you've seen the good
Those
one over
American,
there in Arizona.
those American lion hounds. They look like I don't know what they look like.
Rhodesian
Oh, I got my.
Ridgeback.
So, Zachary, where do you
Pretty
live?
dog.
Tell us where you
Okay.
live, Zachary.
Just curious. A lot of people ask me what kind of dogs are what.
What do you know what, Zachary? Figure out what you want to hunt, and figure out in the area that you're going to hunt, and find somebody in that area that's successful doing it, and hang out with them till they give you a dog. Go pick things up for them. Go clean their dog pens. Go do whatever you can.
Utah. There's a lot of people
Man,
in Utah.
You're in good country for a lion hound right there.
Yeah. Save some money and go to Jeff Allen. Buy a dog.
Yeah, it just depends on where you're at in Utah. There's hounds in every corner, in every square inch of that state. There's good hound hunters and there's less than good hound hunters.
That's everywhere.
Oh yeah, that's right here.
Oh, so I was going to ask you after my mule story, Casey. Do you mule or a horse?
Well, when you told me that story, I had to laugh and giggle because Hendrix told me a story about trying to catch one of them donkeys one time with a shot collar, and it had about the same result as you. And I wanted to give you heck. You was throwing that story in, and I thought, man, should I go there with you already? But I feel you got thick skin because you do ride a mule. But you told me
that's the third insult.
The mule. And there's that old saying, a guy that rides a mule is too cheap to buy a good horse and too proud to ride a cow. So, with that being
I knew
said,
it was coming.
I'm a prideful guy. I promised the good Lord I'd never own a mule. I have dang sure rode lots of mules and some good ones, but no, I ride a horse. Yes, sir.
Have you? Yeah. I was read.
I've been on great mules. I just, it's kind of like being colorblind to a dog. We ride horses right here in this country. We raised half of them right here in this boulder pile, and they're just as good as any mule. Yeah.
That's what I need to find me. I need to find me one I can go, follow the hounds, and then on the weekend maybe go to a jackpot. I don't know.
You better stay away from them jackpots.
They lowered my number, man.
They lowered your number.
They lowered my number. I can go now. Although everybody's so much better nowadays. I mean, these kids are so good. Yeah. But I just haven't. I had my old Jet mule, and he was a good mule, and I enjoyed him. And Agnes was a good mule. She was a little more frustrating than Jet was. I had to motivate her from time to time, but she never did. But I've had a couple now that I just don't are really getting on my nerves. And it's like that old man said. He said, "Man, you rode all the horse out of him. All you got left is jackass."
Yeah. No, and that in this country, my neighbor, he's got some mules, and dang sure got some good ones, and man, I'll have to get off a horse and let him blow while he's still spurring and going to the top of the mountain. But a whole lot of that is self-inflicted on the mule part of the deal. Like the mules were a little tough, but they're gonna be good ones.
and that's what I've always said is I was raised around really good horses. I mean, we had lots of good horses, and my dad rode cutting horses, and we had 40 head of brood mares, and it was just a workhouse really. But I always said, why do you want to treat a good horse that way? Where a mule's probably a little more cut out as I say, can withstand benign neglect. You can kind
Right.
of neglect them a little bit, tie them to a tree, and leave them up there, and probably not feed them as high a quality feed or anything, and not as. Although Agnes did colic and die, but I never worried about it much before. Where my horses, I always I probably took a little bit better care of them.
Right. Yeah. No, I believe, like I said, I'm not totally against a mule, but we use our horses every day. Getting through the country, cowboying or hunting, and about the time you'd need that mule, he's gonna go south. Like if you're dang sure cowboying, like you have to go get around a set of cows. Like, you know, there's days you couldn't get around a milk pen calf
Oh,
on a mule, and then there's days that you couldn't catch him with a 30-30.
well, I mean, and it's the same thing I've always said. If I, if I was working cows or something, I want to be on a good horse. I mean, that's
Right,
just a fact.
right,
But
yeah,
I just thinking, going up some of that old rough country and getting into those bad places and stuff,
yeah,
I don't ever worry about a mule. I figure they're fairly, they got a lot of, what do they call it, self-preservation in them,
right,
where I
right.
could, with some of those horses I rode, I could have made them jump off a cliff, I'm sure. And
Oh yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
mule, you're not
100.
going to do that.
Right, right.
I'm just
And I
mad
like
I
I
can't
said,
get my mule to load in the bus.
yeah, and these horses are raised right here in these rock piles.
Sure.
They know how to get through the country. It'd be a different deal if I have to go buy outside horses or stuff like that.
What they're accustomed to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you have it. Words from
There
the
you go.
wise.
Yeah.
I've
First,
got I still miss my horse.
Yeah.
well, the reason I'm riding a mule is because I don't. Do you know the Hyatts? Jim Hyatt and Lee Drew Hyatt. They
I don't.
ranch. I was hunting on one of their ranches, and I was riding a really nice little 2-year-old. Uh, he was what was his mama? Anyway, he's a real nice horse. I sold him for a lot of money, and I was up there, and he was, I was just riding him in a bosal up there. He was real nice and Mr. Hyatt said, "Is that one going to be one of your roping horses?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What are you doing?" And his ranch has those big old volcano rocks up there. Those big
Mhm.
old.
Malachi.
He said, "Why don't you get you a mule?" He said, "You need you a good mule." He said, he never will forget. He said, "Get a good one." So,
Right.
and Jet, I just got lucky with that first one. I didn't know any different. But
Now you're
but
struggling.
well, now I'm looking
You
for a
know,
horse, I think.
I think Garmin's has spoiled that deal too. If a guy looks at it in that perspective, is like when I started bear hunting up here. Heck, you'd scatter dogs, lose them. When I went to really bear hunting, I'd hunted bears with them guys, and heck, that's all we did is try to find dogs. And then, when I really took off and we started hunting bears hard here, we had garments, and you can go get around a piece of country and know where them dogs are.
Yeah.
You can find them. It's made it a lot easier. Like them dogs. Like we've got country right here. Heck, I leave the house and get a quarter mile from the house, and I can look at a mile of country there, but I got to go a mile to get around it. Like,
Mhm.
it's if I have to get off of one, he's getting tied up, and I'm going into no man's land on a foot. Like you're not going to go with a mule or a horse.
Neither
Period.
one's going to make it. Well, I never
Yeah.
thought that would be. I rode a horse. I had a horse I called Huggy one time, and he would go anywhere. I mean, he was as good as anything. But some of the I guess safety aspects of it,
Mhm.
sometimes I think a mule is less likely. Like Agnes fell down with me up there one time, and I was just on a slope, and it got slick. And when she fell down, she just went down to her knees and stayed down
Mhm.
until I climbed off of her. And I think a lot of horses, you have that, they start grabbing their butt and struggling and fighting not to go down. and might cause more damage than if they'd have just sat there.
Right. No,
But
no,
I don't
get
know.
it.
I don't know. I just I just hate to treat a good horse, the way we treat some of these mules, especially the way Benny treats a mule.
Yeah.
The old funk, huh?
But anyway, guys, last words. What do you think, Chris?
I don't think too much. I think he had a lot of good stories. I think there's a lot of good information. I think we helped Zachary out. I think Res Hounds needs to set his clock and figure out what day it is. You can't just run around the woods doing whatever you want.
I'm real disappointed in him.
I know. That's what I think. I think we'll put together some sort of rendezvous for just some of these whoever wants to show up. We'll even invite Benny.
We might have to build a cage for him.
He's
Oh,
going
there
to be
might
our
be some.
bouncer.
That's what's so nice about if I'm not the one in charge. If there's people I don't want to be around, I can load up and go.
Flatten his
Yeah, that's
tires.
Yeah, I got places to stay real close all over that country.
right.
You know, if you seen me looking at my phone, I might as well say this. I got a message from a guy. Well, that wants me to go pick him up at the airport and take him out in the desert.
Ooh.
This is a private message, man. We don't want to hear
No, he wants me to take him just camping out in the desert. Wants to know what I'll charge.
You're not allowed to.
I know, I'm not. I can't. Can I without a license, huh?
Yeah.
I got a
Well,
guide's
even
license.
camping. I don't know how New Mexico is, but I think even in Arizona, you have to have a guide license to take people camping.
I got a guide's license, but you got to work underneath an outfitter in New Mexico. I don't know what the rule is if you're not hunting, if you're just going out to ride around in the desert, because that's what it sounds like he wants to do.
Hey, let me ask you this, Casey. That
Oh,
Go ahead.
place where you're talking about, I don't know if this would have any bearing on it or not, but I had a get together up close to Hannigan Meadow at Beaverhead one summer, and I brought a big old striped tent, one of them big ones, and
Mhm.
I had it set up because it rained on us every stinking July we were there, and
Yeah.
so I had this tent set up, and some of the guys there, Billy Mark's son Dustin, he was getting there, and here comes these forest ranger guys, and they get out and they're all warped out of shape, and I don't like those pinheads anyway, and so he comes over there and he says, "Just what's going on here? There's no permits issued." And so I'm getting ready to come out of my RV and I'm going to go level this guy because I've had enough of his attitude already. It's I don't have to have a permit; he can pound sand. But is that something that or is this a private where you're talking about? Is it private, or is the Forest Service going to get involved in something like that?
It's a locked Forest Service campground that has to be reserved. And when I have it reserved, it is ours. They cannot
Oh,
say nothing about it. Matter of fact, it's like I think there was only 2 weekends on that deal when she reserved it, and it's like you get in it, and you can lock the gates, and nobody can drive in it. And it's
okay.
it's 100 yards off the Young Highway.
which
It's
So
means
they
we
have
can lock
right there at
Benny
Ridley.
where they
in it.
where they have their Forest Service campgrounds. Quite often they have those real big areas where they fenced them off and put a gate out there, like you're talking about, so that big groups can reserve them.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it's for. And through our outfitting deal, we're licensed and insured and the whole 9 yards. On an event like that, I don't have to worry about that. But that's what these campgrounds are. That campground is set up for. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing we were thinking about is like at our shipping pens, when we
Yeah.
first started, when we
Well,
brought
that's
it up,
where
we just have it at our shipping pens. We're working cows, but
that's what
that
it was.
deal right
We
there.
set up. Yeah, we set up on the Beaverhead shipping pens, which belonged to the Marks, and it was
Mhm.
on their deal, you know. But here come these snot nosed punk Forest Service guys. Thought they was going to really show there was tough outfit today, you know.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a the guys in the green they call
Yep.
I
Green
call
pennies.
it it's a special color they've had blended, and it's Gestapo green.
them. There you go. There you go. Yeah. If we put something together like that, I'll get a hold of Justin and Brian and try to get them to come get Jim to show up and some of these neighbors and stuff around here. Kind of get some of them old guys. I say old, but
On.
Don Pop.
Oh, who?
Or who were you saying?
You were talking about Brian.
Brian Jennings. Brian Jennings,
He's in
Justin Marks, Jim.
Brian's in Oklahoma,
Oh, he
and
is.
yeah, yeah,
You damn.
yeah.
That's
He
great.
he sold out and moved to Oklahoma 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
It hadn't been that long, has it? Since we've seen Brian. I'll be dang. I'll be dang. Yeah, last I seen him, he was still working for the county.
Yeah, he divorced his wife, and she lives down on the Blue, and
Right.
he moved everything and went to Oklahoma.
I'll be dang.
What was those? He's got real good friends that was over there at Rye, outside of Rye, that went to Oklahoma, and he went over there with them. Conroys or Conleys or
Conleys. Yep. The Conleys.
yeah,
Yep. I'll be
yeah.
dang.
He went over there after they did.
I'll be dang. I'll be dang. Justin's still there at the trailer park, though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Justin had come hunt with me. I had some cows up there, about Pine Strawberry, and after they'd sold their ants there, and Justin would come go cowboying with me, and when they were once they got that trailer park going, it kind of took up all his time. But me and Justin, we'd hunt a little bit. He'd come go hunting with me. Yeah.
Well, he had to build that RV park.
Right. Right.
Anybody can come, Ryan. Anybody.
Well, guys, I
There
ran
was a
out of.
bait.
Go ahead, Benny.
What was that Bailey's first name in Payson that had hounds?
Bailey?
Yeah.
I don't know any Baileys in Payson that I could think of. The Night Country, the Piles were there. Malcolm Pyle and all them guys. The vet Lorenzo. He had hounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like guys, lion hunter guys. Yeah.
Is those piles? Is that the same ones that had that book?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Ryan Bailey, see you all the time, Chris.
Ryan Beatty.
Bailey.
Bailey. I see you all the time. Huh.
Stalker.
Oh, dang.
It's like,
Stalker. Must be. Where's he from? Is he from Payson?
where you from, Ryan? Don't be so
Got shy on us.
secretive.
Yeah.
Let his secret out.
I'll look you up and get your phone number and everything.
We got a PI in the house.
Mm-hmm. Don't take nothing these days. Well,
Guys,
what you say,
I
Brett?
ran out of energy about an hour ago.
Yep. Brett got to go 9 night.
But it was fun. This was good. Casey, thank you for coming on.
You bet.
We'll make
You
a
bet.
plan.
Yeah, just get a
Yep.
hold of me, and anyway, we can coordinate and help you guys out on something like that. We're more than willing.
He's
Perfect.
in Young every other weekend. He's probably one of those forest guys you were talking about, one of those rangers.
Oh yeah.
Oh, did I already did? Look at that. I might have.
Now you've made him mad.
It'll happen.
I don't think Chris scared him at all.
Oh, rarely.
You already looked me up, Chris.
He has a different name.
Wow, we got a mysterious guy here.
Ah, I know who it is now.
Who is it?
Brarely. I don't know. He's hiding his real name. Maybe he don't want his real name. His name's Brarely. It's on my Facebook.
Oh,
There's not very many Brarleys.
yeah, on Facebook.
But
Says
now
he's
that we
in
know who
Young
Ryan Bailey
every
is,
other
we can make
weekend.
fun of him. Mhm.
Okay, guys. Thank you, Benny, Chris,
Sounds
Casey.
good.
Thank you, guys.
Till next
I enjoyed
All
it.
right.
We'll see you.
Later.
Guys, hasta luego.
See ya.
See you, Benny, Mr. Benny.
Oh, see ya.